What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Unleashed. The Popcast Unleashed every Thursday, normally at 12:30, and today, for the first time in a few weeks, we are actually on time. Shane, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing okay. You know, I got to tell you, first off, shout out to all of our Discord peeps. I just want to say, you guys really, it's fun spending, you know, we don't get to do anything for a week now because we have so many other things and we don't have our other shows. So during the week, we get to hang out on Discord. So shout out to all our Discord peeps. See a bunch of them here in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat hanging out with us today. By the way, Brian, everyone's disappointed that we didn't get hot mics this week. And I got to tell you, I put you on blast. I said, look, I was, basically voted out of this. I want hot mics every week.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm coughing and stuff. I'm setting things up. It's not like it's like
that's
hot
what
mics.
They want to hear.
No, they don't. No, I'm not gonna do that.
All right. Well,
hot mics aren't like it's not a produced thing. Like, I just accidentally left it on last week. No one wants to hear me going.
Okay, how much does someone have to super chat to get hot mics? I just want to know. Do I got to break out my wallet? What's going on here?
Listen, speaking of super chats, and great segue, Shane. There. We if you saw the clip right before the stream, we were actually demonetized, and the only way to support us and super chat us is now at our Streamlabs account. You look at the top right, streamlabs.com/thepopcastlive. Our main URL, popcast.co, now forwards to that, so popcast.co. I made some changes. A few people on Discord gave me some ideas, and I made some changes to make it a little easier to super chat, and like to show like stats and all that. Also, you can always become a member, and we are monitoring the members side today too. Me too. I have the screen up.
Look at me! I got it on my phone. All right,
yeah.
Cool. We're so much better than we were.
Yeah, and yeah, man. So I hope that you guys can join us. Let me just show that real quick. If you guys don't know how it works, it's pretty cool.
And by the way, just real quickly, I just want to tell you guys, anybody who's waiting for merch from us, when we were demonetized, it kind of threw everything out of whack. Everything that you have coming is still coming. Just we need a little more time. So just hang in there. It will show up.
Yeah, and here's the site, streamlabs.com/thepopcastlive. You can actually chat there and everything, and it works with YouTube. Just make sure that you go from YouTube to there. That way it recognizes your chat name and all that. But good stuff. So we are talking about Strange New Worlds today. The last episode, probably ever.
No, it's not the last episode ever. As we saw in this episode. And by the way, spoilers are coming, so just be advised.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not. It said to be continued.
Right, to be continued during a writer's strike. Right. I
mean, look at. I don't. If it never comes back, of course, it's not going to bother us one bit, but it will come back unless Paramount goes bankrupt.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I have my doubts about whether. Yeah. First off, I know we're gonna get into it, but my God, what a cop out! There's just so many problems with that episode. Like it's just so disappointing in every way.
I mean, I hear you, but in order for them to, do the right thing and not continue the series, they would have to come to their senses. And we don't see that coming anytime soon, right?
Dude, this is what I love. Our buddies over at Salty Nerd, Vader always texts me after he watches the show. And I look forward to his
text. He never texts me. What's up, Matt?
I look forward to his text messages because I know pretty quickly what the general vibe is going to be the second he texts me.
Well, he and I think a lot alike, and that's what's cool. Like, when I watch the Salty Nerd show on Saturdays, it's like being able to watch myself, so it's nice.
He just texted me just one word, oof.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. Yeah. Because that's pretty much how I felt, too. And we're going to go into it. Also, we're going to talk about some stuff that Will Wheaton said. Will Wheaton, whatever. The guy, Will Wheaton is
it's Wheaton, by the way.
Whatever. Will Wheaton, Crusher.
Wesley Crusher.
Wesley Crusher.
Say it like you mean it.
Wesley Crusher from TNG. His real name is Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
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 He's the worst.
Well, he is. You're right.
So if you guys don't know this, we actually had a run-in with him long before YouTube.
We've told this story so many times.
I know, but there's new people here, so we'll just know.
So those of you who've heard it 50 times.
If you guys ever go, why do these guys dislike Will Wheaton so much? Like, what is the problem? We've had people like we made a shirt once that was just like it just said "Shut up, Will."
It got taken down. That was the problem.
And it got taken down. Yeah. So this is why we don't like Will Wheaton. I didn't really like his character. Shane didn't mind him. But
yeah, he was good.
But we had some real world experience with the guy. When we first started our business, we started selling t-shirts on, no joke, Reddit. Reddit used to
store.
Reddit used to have a store. It was actually awesome. So before all the big boys came out and smashed all the little marketplaces, Reddit had a marketplace. It was called the Reddit store. And you can go on there and buy gifts for people, and you can set up like gift exchanges. It was a really cool community thing. You can buy stuff for yourself, or you can literally like exchange gifts with people. It was a really rad store. I wish it was still up. I mean, I was actually a customer.
That was the secret of the Reddit, was the gift exchange. So yeah, that's how it succeeded. They actually had people sign up to be a secret Santa kind of. What did they call it? Secret? No, it wasn't Secret Santa. It was like Secret Redditor or something like that.
No, it was Secret Santa.
And it was really cool because you just randomly met other Redditors or sent gifts, and you would receive a gift. It was actually a really cool
you could do it random, or you can actually
idea,
or you can actually talk to the people and investigate them. Cool. I signed up all the time. I was exchanging gifts with people I never even met. It was great. I would get random crap in the mail, and I would send out random crap. And
oh, how the world used to be!
It was a fun time. It was a really cool marketplace. And now, so here's the we had a store up there.
Wait, can you imagine if Twitter did a gift exchange program and people would get like, poop in the mail and stuff like that, and like middle fingers and stuff? It would be hilarious.
Maybe that's why they shut it down. Maybe it got out of hand.
Got too crazy.
No, so we had this store and we were selling like nerd stuff. The same shirts that we put on our store now. Not the same exact ones, but similar, like nerd stuff. And we were great. We were interacting with people. We were like throwing events. It was a really fun time. At one point, we were like number 2 on Reddit store. Like they even said like we were like the number 2 store.
Yeah, it was cool.
We were selling merchandise. People loved us. We were going back and forth. We had this great community going. And we woke up one morning to our store being removed. It was removed.
It's funny now. It's not 10, 11 years later. It's funny.
Yeah, it was not funny then because like we had purchased and printed a ton of merchandise. Like
we lost a lot of money.
We
almost lost the business completely.
We almost lost the business. Yeah. In our mind, we're like, oh well. I mean, we got this. We're building this whole community. Let's print. Let's get things going. And we invested a lot of money into it, and only for like the next day for our store to be removed. Who was it removed by? By the number 1 person on Reddit. Who was the number 1 person on Reddit at the time? We were number 2. Who was number 1, Shane?
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton has his own or had his own clothing brand where he sold similar stuff.
Where he sold Star Trek stuff.
He sold a lot of Star Trek nerd stuff.
Right.
Which makes sense. He was on Star Trek.
Right.
We didn't sell just Star Trek. We sold all kinds of stuff. But he didn't like that we were gaining on him. And if you, it's funny now, but at the time I remember looking at the stats and saying like, we're getting closer. Like we're going to overtake this random store. And we didn't know that at the time it was Will Wheaton's store.
We didn't know. We found out later by somebody on the inside who told us, yeah, he nuked you guys. Sorry.
Yeah, he nuked us from orbit.
And he had to clout and you didn't. So sorry.
Right. Yeah. And to be fair, that random Reddit guy was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, guys."
He's like, "Yeah, by the way, we're closing the store too."
Will Wheaton's
store
got
closed
juice.
right after that.
He's got juice, and he just nuked us from orbit. So I was very upset. Since then, every time I see his smug, stupid face, it upsets me because he set us back 5-6 years easily. Not because we were doing anything wrong, not because we had slighted him. And the only reason he did that was because he wanted to make sure that we weren't competition.
Well, I'm sure it cut into his sales.
Oh, I know, but we were gaining on him. We were cutting into his sales. This already, I'm assuming, wealthy person with a lot more clout than we had went out of his way to nuke us for no reason other than we were competition.
Right, and don't think that my calm demeanor now is anything like what it was then. I wanted to strangle him.
Oh no, Shane lost his mind.
Now that's over.
Everyone thinks like I'm the really passionate one.
No, well, you are.
I am like my control tone, like my normal like tone all the time is like right here, right? Shane is like this. Everything's fine. I want to murder you.
Well, I think that comes through. These guys get it.
Yeah. Shane is very relaxed and then randomly just like his hair trigger temper.
I do. Yeah. I kind of lose it sometimes. And you've seen it here on stream. So, and I apologize to anybody that offends and, tough shit. So let's keep going.
So that said, I do want that I wanted to set that up because I'm going to play this Ready Room clip.
Ooh, but do we want to do that now?
When do you want to do it?
Okay, yeah. No, we've already set it up, so I guess that's cool. But we need to give some. Well, we can give the backstory afterwards. But can you real quick? We got a couple of members. We have a super chat from Jeremy Snyder.
We do. Jeremy Snyder says
it didn't apply to the Stream Hero though.
Stream Hero. Okay, he didn't. You're right.
But we'll fix that, Jeremy. And yeah, he says Stream Hero for $5. Thank you so much, Jeremy. And we'll get that Stream Hero going here properly. And also, Jeremy Schneider, member for 28 months.
Wow, Jeremy, my man.
He says, now time to flex. Thank you. Yeah, Jeremy's been with us for years.
Well, longer than 28 months, yeah.
Long time.
So Jeremy is chatting from the members section, just so you guys know. If you guys want to become a member, it's pretty easy. You click on the link in the description of this video. I can also put it in chat. Okay.
It literally costs the third of a Whopper at Burger King a month. So like if you were to like have 3 starving people sit down and cut the burger into thirds, that's essentially the cost of being a member. So please consider.
That's so funny.
It would help out since the only way we get any monetization since YouTube won't is through you guys' support.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you.
Here's the link if you guys want to join. We usually spend extra time. So we have the stream running here and in the member section. And what happens is when we end it here, we stay in the member section for, 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes maybe an hour and a half, and just sort of shoot the shit and talk about stuff that we normally couldn't talk about in the public facing side. Because we know that there is some YouTube people watching just waiting to
shut it down.
To make sure we don't get remonetized in 3 months. We had to wait until the end of October.
I know.
To reapply for monetization.
And they never told us what we did wrong.
Never told us what we did wrong. Never even watched our Peel video. Anyways.
Yeah. It's politics. It's like Will Wheaton nuking you from space on the Reddit store. Go ahead.
Yeah. Will Wheaton.
Now, if you guys saw last week's episode of the Star Trek, if you saw the singing episode of Star Trek, which we rate as our lowest episode of Star Trek pretty much in any iteration ever.
Right.
And that's saying a lot because there's some really bad Discovery episodes. Then you're going to want to see this next little clip because it's Will Wheaton, and he's interviewing Christina Chong, who plays La'an on Strange New Worlds, and he's talking to her about the episode and what he thinks. He has a theory. A Star Trek theory. I wanted you to play this thing, and I was going to tell you we didn't have much time, but to come back to us and have us just kind of look like this occasionally as he's talking. But we can't do that. But go ahead.
Okay, so this is Will Wheaton. He has a great theory about Kirk and everything, and everything. Just watch.
It's a process. When I was getting ready to talk to you for season 1, I rewatched the original series episode Space Seed.
I doubt that.
And I remember making a joke to my wife at the end of the episode that Kirk is like, well, I mean, listen, he's a eugenicist and killed like untold numbers of people. But listen, I'm going to drop him off on SETI Alpha 5 and it's going to be totally fine. This is absolutely not going to come back and be a problem for us in the 80s.
Okay, real quick. So he says he watched Space Seed, and he makes a joke about how he knows he's a eugenicist and he's all these horrible things. And I'm just going to drop him off on SETI Alpha 5 and it won't be a problem. No big deal.
Yeah.
He's implying that Kirk made a bad decision. What was the alternative, Shane?
Was he implying that Kirk made a bad decision?
Yeah, he was implying that Kirk knew that he was a eugenicist and all that and still went easy on him and dropped him off on SETI Alpha 5.
I thought, well, yeah, I guess I didn't read that into it that he thought he made a bad decision, but yeah, that's
why Christina Chong starts laughing uncontrollably because it's not going to be a problem anymore in 30 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Is he saying he made a mistake or is he making a joke that, of course, the Wrath of Khan? So I don't know if he's actually giving him a hard time there.
I don't know. It sounds like to me like because you'll see later on in the theory, he explains why he thinks he did that. Again, what was the alternative? Just remember that.
Yeah, no. It was either, okay, so Khan was either going to be imprisoned, I guess. Indefinitely. Or
spaced.
And that's not something that Star Trek does, as we know. So they gave him a chance for a second. What is it? A chance for a second start. And that's what Star Trek does.
Right. Okay.
Because it's hopeful and it's positive. Okay, keep going.
All right.
And as I was watching this episode, I thought, wait a minute. Could it possibly be that Kirk's connection to La'an affects his decision to give her ancestor that opportunity at some kind of redemption in exile? Does this seem like a weird Star Trek theory?
Yeah. Yes, it is a weird theory. Well, it's impossible.
That's can't happen, Will. You did watch all the shows, right?
Did you watch Space Seed?
Did he?
I wish I had that clip right now of Galaxy Quest. Did you guys even watch the show?
Well, it's funny because he was a huge Star Trek fan for TOS. So he has watched the show, which means that he's drank the stupid Kool-Aid that seems to be going around Hollywood these days, because it's obvious that Kirk didn't know who Khan was. Right?
No one knew who Khan was. No one knew who he was.
So no one knew who La'an was, which is why this is another universe, and we can get into that whole thing. Will, it's better not even to bring it up. The more you try to attach TOS to Strange New Worlds, the more you're going to find holes that make absolutely zero sense. So there's no way Kirk could have thought of La'an and decided to have pity on her ancestor because he didn't know who the hell he was. So, yeah.
Before we get cat for reused content, I'm not going to keep playing that. I was going to keep playing it. Basically, he goes on to say, is that a crazy theory? And she's like, no, I totally think that Kirk's...
Well, yeah, right.
Because Christina Chong hasn't watched TOS either, obviously.
Right, because she even admits in this thing, she's like, yeah, when they told me about this whole thing, I was like, well, I guess I better go watch this stuff. Like, yeah, Christina, you should go watch the stuff that you're butted up against, But I mean, she's been fine on the show. She's actually a fine actress. All the people on Strange New Worlds are good actors and actors. I don't have any problem with the casting outside of getting rid of Hemmer, and I definitely want to talk about that later.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not blaming the actors or whatever. All I'm saying is that there's this weird, what's the word? Stupidity? Like Streisand effect going on, like
people. What, everybody breaks out in song and they're Yentl?
Yeah, that's stupid too. I'm not saying that. No. This group delusion about what actually happened in TOS and TNG. Like there's this weird group delusion where everyone just sort of ignores all these story points and canonical references and fixed points in history, and just comes up with wild, stupid theories. Like, I've been a Trekkie for a long time, and I remember being criticized for not knowing like the name of the yeoman that like served, Kirk at some point.
Yeoman Rand, yeah.
Okay, thank you. The thing is, like, that is not the case anymore. Like, it seems like the knowledge is like they're like rewriting history, but they're not doing it by actually rewriting the show. They're just saying that this is what happened.
Can I give you a theory on why I think that is?
I don't know. Go ahead.
I think what happens is somebody makes a decision and says, this is the way it's going to be from now on. And everybody's too afraid to say, well, that doesn't make any sense. So instead of saying, well, we shouldn't do it that way, it doesn't make any sense, they then find reasons to make it okay. They find excuses for it or they try to reason it in. And then it just sounds even more foolish when you try to do that, because you can't take something that's wrong and make it right. I mean, you can't take a piece of poop and make it gold. You just can't do that. And I think that's what all these people are doing. They're trying to what Star Trek Strange New Worlds is, and I'll just tell you before we get into it, it's suffering from something very, very important. It doesn't know what it wants to be tonally. It has a tone problem. Star Trek is a serious show with some levity from time to time, but ultimately the storylines are dramatic and there's consequences in every episode. Several episodes of Strange New Worlds is very lighthearted. It's very wistful. It borders on Lower Decks type of tone, and that's not good for a live action Star Trek show as far as being part of the Star Trek mold. And so Strange New Worlds in this episode, it captures the correct tone. So that's what episode 10 has going for it. But because episode 9 was tonally different or wrong, and every other episode, if you go back to Spock being turned into a human and all these episodes, the tone kind of is just a little bit off. And so it feels like a step cousin to Star Trek as opposed to Star Trek proper. Right.
Yeah, I don't mind. Like, I know a lot of people have a problem with levity. I don't mind if it's levity, if there's levity. It's just this very weird. The tone is wrong, but it's also, it's just like they're just ignoring what came before it. So it feels like it's this brand new show that just happens to use Star Trek words and Star Trek iconography, but it's not Star Trek.
Right. That's what happens when you don't understand the show's core. Like when you don't get it, like you've just periphered it. You've seen some things, you watched a couple episodes. You're like, oh, okay, Scotty does this. The doctor says, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a podiatrist or whatever. Whatever. That's a doctor too, by the way.
I'm not a bricklayer. I'm a doctor, right? Not a bricklayer.
All of the things that society, and there's this amalgamation of these things, and that's what makes it feels false. Now the actors are doing their best. They're trying to deliver these characters the best that they can, but there's so many different things that happen that are so different. Like, I can't get over the fact that Spock, I don't care what universe this is in, and if you go back to episode 3, you guys have heard us say it, they 100% changed the universe. The timeline has changed in some respects, and that's fine if you want to do that to a show and you want to change that. That actually makes more sense if you're going to have a bunch of incorrections, change the timeline, start over, do something different. The problem is, for me, I don't think in any universe this is the way Spock would behave. And nothing happened prior that we've seen in Spock's life to make it. And we saw Discovery, we saw what happened to him there, and we've seen that younger version of Spock. Nothing's happened that would make him this weepy, completely, totally emotional character all the time.
I guess it's who he has around him or whatever, and obviously the timeline has changed. He has a sister now. He grew up with a sister. He grew up with humans. I can see how that is different. And for everyone that's saying it didn't change, it 100% did. It might mean maybe it's not an alternate timeline. Maybe when they say it's not an alternate timeline, they're referring to it being like this is the actual prime timeline now. Regardless of however you think, this is definitely a timeline that has been altered since the TOS Berman era Legacy Trek timeline. Period. The end.
Right. It was as we've seen, there was a time shift dilation of some sort that happened around what happened with Khan, and that's changed everything. And what are some of the facts of that? Well, we can take the Gorn, for example, as one of the major points of this whole thing. As we all know, in TOS alternate timeline, the original timeline, they didn't know who the Gorn were. Right. Now, here, several years before Kirk runs into them, the Gorn are on the edge of space, and the Federation is about to have a war with them. I believe that James Kirk, who's been in this show, would know all about the Gorn. He does, obviously. So it really, I mean, listen.
And he would know about Khan, and he would know about, there's things he would know about that he clearly doesn't know anything about in TOS.
So it goes back to what you said with like this group. What did you call it? Like Streisand syndrome?
I don't know. Like delusion.
This group delusion. So because when you take facts and you say, well, we're just going to ignore those things. I mean, that's delusional. Like you can't, there has to be order to the universe.
All right.
Unless you're an agent of chaos, and then maybe that's what it is.
We have 2 super chats from Son of John, and his last super chat is actually something, my point I wanted to bring up. So the first one, he says, Strange New Worlds has rubbed me the wrong way for this season too. And, it didn't start like that for me, John, but it definitely is that way now. And then in his second super chat for $10, thank you, by the way, Son of John, he says, my question about Strange New Worlds, why do we need to see Spock simp over Chapel and forget T'Pring? Why are the Gorn a ripoff of Aliens, and why do we need to see TOS characters as soon? Now, first off, I am wearing this Aliens shirt for a reason. Okay? Yeah. Because that's pretty much what the Gorn are. And, I refuted that point that Shane made months ago, or last year. But now, that's pretty much what they are. Well, first off, I'll tell you this, John. Yeah, there's a lot of problems over that. I don't know why we need to see Spock simp over Chapel, because they had that will they, won't they at some point for, in one episode of TOS that they keep this going. Additionally, though, I'm not sure if you know this, but in TOS, Uhura, Nurse Chapel, Kirk, no one knew who T'Pring was.
Right.
In Amok Time, I actually just watched this. Everyone was like, who's that, Spock? And he's like, that's my betrothed or something.
Betrothed, right? Yeah. That's my wife or whatever.
Yeah. No one knew who she was. But
that's more evidence that time has changed.
5 years earlier, they all spent an incredible amount of time with this person.
And I know it would have been harder, but they could have very easily sat down. And this is why, and I think I didn't get to the point, but Strange New Worlds needs a continuity person. Somebody who can sit down when they write stuff and do stuff and go, okay, well, you can't do this because of that. Somebody who's a lore master. You say, well, we can't do that. You got to find a way around that. So if you want to bring T'Pring into this world, if that's your goal, you need to do it when Spock isn't with the ship. That's what they should have done. Just had everything that happened with T'Pring and Spock happen away from the ship. They could have done that. They could have written it that way.
Right.
Wouldn't have been a problem. But the way they did it, it creates a time disturbance. And so, I mean, listen, we're probably at some point, I don't know if we're actually going to do it because Star Trek videos aren't doing well for us anymore on the Prime channel, but it would be great to give all of the evidence of why we're in a new universe. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. I don't know.
I mean, it would be, I almost wish that we had done more of that for our altered timelines video, but like the point of that video, we didn't want to go and make an hour-long video. We wanted to explain that episode and how the time diverged or divulged. What's the word? Yeah, diverged. But now that everything's done, I think it would be great if we made a video that said every single way that this is clearly an altered timeline. And obviously they actually did alter the time. I'm using the word alter because so many people fight me on this. It's crazy. It makes me think that I'm the crazy one. I'm like, wait, am I crazy? Why is everyone fighting me on this topic?
Well, because they said that the timeline hasn't changed.
I do not care.
I know. I understand.
It doesn't matter what they say.
But that's the way the world works now. If somebody who you agree with that's in your echo chamber says something, whether or not they're right or wrong, you just agree with them.
That's stupid.
We know that.
That's
we know that, but
that's incredibly stupid. Okay.
the world is suffering.
Yes. Okay. So this is exactly what Shane said is what's happening. People keep going. It's not an altered timeline because Akiva Goldsman told Deadline.com that it wasn't, and you're like, and I don't give an F. What the current showrunner of a Star Trek show said, because he didn't put it on screen. If it's not on screen, it's not canon. Bottom line. And you know what's crazy? What is canon now is fucking Klingons doing K-pop. That's what's canon.
Well, you can't break a skeleton into a bunch of pieces and say it's not broken. I mean, that's what he did. He changed the actual dates that things occurred in time. I mean, that is literally a change in time. Period. I mean, it's like the definition of time change.
Yeah,
is that.
I wish I was that Deadline guy, and I would have been like, so explain this and this and this. But of course, they're not going to do that. Bottom line is, like, we really should produce a video that just explains how all these things are different and how they vary from each other and where the possible beginning of that shift was.
Then I'll tell you what. Son of John, $2. Thank you so much here, Son of John. He says, do it, Brian and Shane. So guess what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to start working on it right after this video.
All right, we're doing it.
The next thing we put out.
All right, the next thing we put out is going to be after the Barbie video is going to be that video.
The Barbie video comes. We didn't talk. We'll talk about Barbie video, and you're not going to want to miss that one, by the way. In member section today, we'll talk about Barbie video. That's coming out. And Son of John, also a member for 4 months. I feel like you've been a member for longer than that, Son of John. But thank you for being a member. My problem with Strange New Worlds is the writing and disrespect. Yeah, and I think we're going to talk more about that. Are we actually going to look at the episode? We are.
Yes,
right?
we are. But we also got a super chat on streamlabs.com/thepopcast live from Michael Nemo for $5. Thank you, Michael Nemo.
Thank you, Michael.
He says, where the special ops red shirts for the away team? Why would they take Sam Kirk?
Oh, wait, even better. Sam Kirk bursts into the room and says, if you're going, I'm going too. And I'm like, wait a sec, you weren't even invited, dude. How did you just like come into this meeting and say I'm going?
Why wouldn't the Gorn be able to see or detect non-debris movement? Yeah, that's silly.
Well, because that's the other problem with this show is when something needs to they do some pretty good Star Trek stuff in this episode, but when they don't know their way around it, i.e. like Chapel being in a section of the ship that has air and oxygen and life, it has everything she needs to survive, but yet the Enterprise couldn't find it. It's like they do stuff like this on purpose, but that's why they need somebody sitting there saying, please don't do this. Do it, find another way to tell this story because it doesn't make any sense.
Well, that drives me nuts. Like they can scan the entire planet for life signs, but they couldn't scan the ship for a life sign.
I mean, even Spock said it. There's pockets of oxygen. We got registered pockets.
Scan the ship for life signs. I don't understand. Like, this is an established part of Star Trek.
It's very weird.
All right, another one from Michael. Michael Nemo went on a tangent here. Michael, I felt like you.
Come on, Michael. Can we put them up?
Yeah, they are up in there. Yeah. He also says, why does, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see. I'm putting him up as the podcast.
I got it.
Why does number one have to tell the bridge crew to remember their training?
Right. It sounded like they were like a bunch of seamen going out, midshipmen going out on their first cruise. I mean, come on, this is like the flagship.
And why was Chapel the only survivor of 400 plus ships crew? Because she has plot armor.
That's exactly why.
And then
here's the thing. That was the other thing that frustrated me about the episode was like, for a second, I'm like, wait a second. This is a new universe. I can be afraid that maybe Chapel will be killed or maybe Spock will die. And then I went, oh, wait, we know it's a new universe, but the people who wrote the show think it's the same universe. So back to prequel problems, right? Nothing's going to happen to these characters.
I hope they do. You know what? I will change my entire opinion of Strange New Worlds if next season they straight up just kill off one of the characters that are supposed to be there during TOS.
If they will admit, which they just never will, if they'll just go with the fact that this is a different timeline and they change the tone of the show so that the episodes line up to be a little more similarly, because right now it's like, what is it? Is it a drama? Is it a comedy? Is it a musical fantasy? Is it a cooking show? Like, we're not exactly sure what it is. And so if we can know what it is, a drama that's got some levity, that has some heart, then the actors are fine. They just need to go off and do it. Look, I can even accept the fact that I can accept the whole storyline if they will just admit that the universe is a new universe, a new timeline.
It's altered. You have to say altered.
I can accept everything that happens except for Spock.
And I'm not saying alternate. I'm saying altered.
Right. So
There's a difference.
Timeline, which sucks because that means that our original timeline is just gone.
Right.
So,
but if that's the case, it's the case. You can't alter that many things and then say, oh no, we're not. This is not an altered timeline. We're just fixing things.
Do that.
You can't do that, mother. You can't. That's not allowed.
Right. You can't paint the wall black and say, look, man, that is a white wall. What the fuck's wrong with you? You can't do that. Yeah. You can't. It's
we're just updating it for modern times. No. What are you talking about? I'm sorry. That there's fixed dates here. Like in the words of Doctor Who, these are fixed points of time. Okay, if you change those things are completely different across the board. The ripple effect is extreme. Also, another one from Michael Nemo. Thank you, Michael Nemo. On the plus side, the episode fails the Bechdel test in under 2 minutes when two women can't help but talk about a man.
Yeah. There are elements in this episode. There's a couple times, and maybe this is the wrong week for me because I just got done writing a Barbie script that's going to light your socks on fire. And it's also lit mine on fire a bit. So there's a couple of elements in this episode that I thought I didn't like, which was one of them is Pike asking Battelle, hey, have you tried? And she's like, Chris, I know how to do my job. Like, like they had to have a mansplaining moment in there. Right. It's like, let me ask you a question. Like if you have if you have somebody, you're a professional and you guys are both in a job or in a organization together, and that person says, hey, and you're having a problem, like you're explaining an issue that you're having and you're not sure how to figure it out. And he says, have you tried? Like her saying that, it's not like he said, you should try. He said, have you tried? He made it a suggestion and she shut him down. He's like, oh, okay. And it's like, they take these little moments like this. Chapel also does it to Spock at the end. Like she's safe. They end up back on the Enterprise and Spock just has to talk to her. He's like overwhelmed with this idea that he needs to communicate with her right now about what happened. And she's like, we'll have time to talk about it later. Like literally Chapel is the center-minded, reasonable, rational of the two. And she's like, we'll talk about it later. And then she bails.
Dude,
and I'm like,
I thought for some reason that was referencing something else that I maybe missed. I was like, what did I miss?
No, what you missed is that they wanted to make sure that Chapel was the one shutting down Spock and not vice versa. Because what would have happened is the Spock would have been the one who didn't want to talk about it.
Of course.
I mean, that's the way it works. So that's Star Trek. That's the difference between Star Trek and this show, which we're calling Star Trek. Maybe like the cousin of Star Trek.
So let's get into this episode because there's a lot to discuss here. That just
one more super chat from Son of John, please.
Oh, is it?
Member section.
Thank you, sir. He says the new Star Trek is a pimp.
That means that are we all the prostitutes?
We're all the prostitutes.
We're all whores.
We're all massive whores. I don't know.
Throw us an explanation on that one, Son of John, and we'll go through it.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's jump into this sucker. We're not gonna. I don't want to spend like an insane amount of time on this. I'm gonna scan through things really quick to get to points. And Shane, if you want, stop me if there's something you want to sit on for a second. Okay.
Yeah. Can I just say I know people expected me to melt down immediately on this, and the reason why I'm not melting down is because if we hadn't had episode 3 where this is an altered timeline, then you would probably see me melting down this episode because I would not be able to accept this Gorn issue and a bunch of other things that happen.
Okay, so this is from Mattel. It is Stardate 2344.2. So first off, they're on a colony called Parnassus Beta. I'm just gonna say Panera Bread Beta. Okay?
Right, fair enough. Yep.
And this is what they say. They say that the colony was modeled after late 20th century.
Meaning I ain't got money for sets. Go ahead.
Meaning I don't have a budget to actually produce a reasonable futuristic take on a town. So I'm going to set this on whatever backlot I have available that looks like the 21st century. And we're going to say that we modeled our entire society on what is now a 250-year-old or so aesthetic. Get out of here, bro.
Well, I mean, at least they did say that, because later in the show, when number one says the thing about zombie movie creatures or whatever, they're going to pretend so that basically the Gorn can't see them. She's like, you've seen those zombie movies, like zombie movies where you go through and you're acting like a zombie, so the zombies can't tell that you're not a zombie. And I'm like, okay, well, Star Trek would have said, those 20th century movies about zombies, not talking about it as if it's current. And that's one of the other problems this show does from time to time, is it talks about current things currently, whereas Kirk would have said there was a 20th century thing that people love to do, going to the movies, and there were zombie. Anyways, it would have been something like that.
Yeah. It was a stupid reference, regardless. By the way,
it does make sense, but
it was just a stupid reference. It's another thing that took me out of the entire show. So this is basically some backlot town set up. Like, we've actually been to Fox. They have like in their backlots, they have like little towns and little streets set up for the purpose of filming on. Okay. That's what this is. It's some backlot somewhere that shows like an old, a late 20th century town. And they took some golf carts and they put extra wheels on them. That's it. And it's really effing obvious, by the way. It's really obvious. So I guess all the money went into the special effects. I don't know. And yeah, that's it. They're talking about, they have this conversation. She's mad at him for something because he talks to him too much. I don't know. I don't care.
And essentially, these people are debating whether or not to come into the Federation, but they have some concerns. Like, they do want the protection of the Federation, but at the same time, they know it's going to put a target on them, so they're concerned.
A target on them. Yeah. What are your concerns about joining the powerful Federation, the powerful benevolent Federation? What clearly looks like Orange County circa 1999.
I don't know.
Jesus Christ. All right.
I would have thought it was older than that even. It just kind of looks weird.
Maybe 80s and whatever. I don't know. Yeah, you see that shuttle just fly across the screen?
Mm-hmm.
That's Scotty.
Oh, you're right. Good call.
Yeah. That's Scotty.
Well, if you guys didn't know, Scotty's in this episode.
Yeah, Scotty's in this episode. We have a new Scotty now. And then the giant Gorn ship appears. Everyone, look, ring the bell, man. Ring the alert.
Yeah, good luck with that. You guys are screwed.
Good luck with your bell, homie. Yeah, so the Gorn just show up and we're going to learn later on, I'm going to forget where, so I'm just going to say it now. Apparently the Gorn like to swarm and hunt when solar flares happen.
Stop. Just please stop.
What does it even mean? Shane, what does it even mean?
It makes them hungry because they're angry, because they don't like
insects.
Light. They don't like light. It makes them mad. Yeah, so like imagine like you're imagine if the little buzz zapper you got on the porch, right, lights up, right, and it pisses the bugs off so much that they come and just eat your face off. That's basically what it is.
It's so stupid on so many levels.
It causes them to go into what's weird about it is like, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter since they're changing the Gorn, but that Gorn and TOS was fighting in broad daylight, but that's okay. It's all good.
Whatever it is. Yeah, he was in
sorry.
in the desert, right?
They did use the music from Arena in this episode, sort of, like a version of it, which I thought was nice.
So what they say later on is that Scotty was on his ship by yeah, I assumed at some point he was by himself, but no, he was with an actual full ship, and he's the only living survivor from the entire ship.
Didn't hear nothing about that ship, which I thought was like Starfleet didn't get a call or something, or
I don't know. And by the way, yeah, I know.
He was on a research vessel.
He was on a Federation research vessel, and they were looking at corona mass injections or whatever,
Right.
big giant solar
CMEs,
flares.
yep.
And when they do meet him, he's like, yeah, I escaped because I rigged my shuttle to look like the Gorn or whatever. I would have immediately been like, you would have heard the noise from Among Us. I'm like, sus.
Well, but here's the thing is like, if any character is going, you're going to believe that he can do it, it'd be Scotty.
Sure, but like,
So that's reasonable.
400 plus people, he's the only one that gets off that ship.
Well, yeah.
That,
I mean,
that
I can
that
forgive things
stinks
like
of
that.
cowardice for me.
Well, I can. Oh, of cowardice. Interesting. Well, he didn't die with him, so he was the only one smart enough to survive. How about looking at it that way, maybe?
I guess. Anyways, that's why he crash landed, because that was the closest planet. Luckily, unlucky for him is that's where the Gorn were heading. So apparently the Gorn are spacefaring, technologically advanced species that get pissed off when solar flares happen and like go crazy aggressive, like insects or
It
something.
causes a feeding frenzy because they just compared them to locusts, basically.
Makes no sense. Like these are highly advanced spacefaring, technologically advanced aliens.
No, they're not. They are aliens, xenomorphs from the movie Aliens. We know exactly what this is.
But xenomorphs couldn't fly ships. They didn't have their own ships. They were dropped off.
Exactly. Now, there is a scene later on, which we'll see, which I would have accepted this version of the Gorn, the one that attacks Spock in space, but we should talk about that.
Yeah, okay. So anyways, yeah, the Gorn are coming. Now, also, he's also told by April to not...
There's a new rule in Star Trek. Did you guys hear about this rule?
Right.
The new rule is that in 50% of all your episodes, you have to disobey Starfleet. Like that's like 50% of the episodes. And I think this is the 5th time they've completely disobeyed their.
Yes. Also, if you are outside of Federation space at all, you are also now completely expendable to Starfleet.
Let me tell you how this should have gone down. Okay. This is how Star Trek would have done it previously. There would have been this phone call, and it would have been from April, and he would have been said, listen, Pike, okay, here's the deal. We're going to have this, you're not supposed to go past this line. And officially, what I'm telling you right now is you cannot go past that line. But Chris, I want you to go down there and get our damn people back. And that's the way that would have gone down. And then there would have been some sort of ownership. This is not all on Pike. You put it on the Admiral. You put it on April. That's what, if Star Trek's going to break the rules, they don't put it on the captain every time. And that's what I hate about the new.
Yeah, you gotta show that Starfleet actually has a heart. Like there's build Admiral April's character a little bit.
I mean, you can have Black Ops where you're not supposed to. I mean, trust me, we do it all the time in this world.
Oh yeah,
where they go in and they not supposed to treaties and shit like that.
Oh my god, I read the CIA reports recently. I read the lost CIA reports or whatever. We did some gnarly stuff, and which makes me think, if we were doing all that gnarly stuff in like the late 80s, early 90s that are now being unredacted, what are we doing now?
Well, less now, because you could get the reason why is you could get away with it then because communication was so minimal. Now we've got the internet, we have a lot of sharing. I think there is less behind the curtain stuff than there was a long time ago because frankly speaking, it's just harder to get away with it.
The CIA proposed to JFK that they kill a bunch of Americans and blame it on the Cubans.
Yeah, that's happened many times in history. We blew up I believe the Maine was blown up in order to start the.
But now when you see all those conspiracy theories about like false flag attacks, I'm like, come on, guys, no one would do that. And I'm like, wait a minute. In the 50s, we were proposing this to presidents, and the only reason that didn't happen was because the president was like, what, are you nuts?
Yeah, well, some presidents would have done it. It's like that old thing where you destroy your own locker room and then blame it on the opposing team and get your team all pissed off to go kick their ass. I mean, that's part of human, it's the part of the human psyche that we use. It's not right, but it is the way it's
Operation Northwoods, that's what it's called. Thank you.
But a lot of people, the problem is though, the conspiracy the problem is you can go too far down that hole. Like not everything that happens is a conspiracy.
I know,
sure
but these are actual things. So when you go, well, the 9/11 was an inside job, you're like, come on, guys, that's ridiculous. But then you hear about all this stuff, and you're like, well, I don't really know anymore. Now I'm like,
well, that's the problem with those things. Like if you look at it too much, you can be like, I don't know, controlled demolition.
There was WMDs.
Well, we knew there were. Well, I'm pretty sure we thought there was no WMDs before. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get into that whole thing.
Anyways, you're right.
Who thought Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction? Nobody did before.
I know, yeah. I think
no one did.
The entire country was like 40 years behind the rest of the world.
Yeah, no one thought he did. The only people who thought he did was the people who are like, if we say he does, we can go to war.
Yeah. That's
and take all their oil fields.
Now when they're like, hey, North Korea has nukes and they're planning on targeting the United States, I'm like, North Korea doesn't have an Atari yet, dude. I think we're okay.
No, they might have got some stuff though. China would love nothing more than them to just randomly drop a bomb on Japan.
I know.
That would be like multiple times Japan's had bombs dropped. Like why stop messing with Japan?
Japan's really in a bad place. They keep getting goaded into really picking the wrong side because of where they're at. They don't really have a choice. They have to like play along, get along to go along to get along.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, Admiral April should have been like, hey, listen, go get our people. But on the same note, it seems like most of our operations that we have witnessed now this season are taking place outside of Federation space, and for some reason, we are never allowed to do anything of value outside of Federation space. So like when they go, well, they're outside of Federation space, so it's like everyone is expendable outside of Federation space, then maybe we should be doing less crap outside of Federation space.
I don't quite get that. I mean, that's our whole point.
Because every time they're outside Federation space, they're like, you can't engage, you can't do this, don't get involved, don't go in, don't talk. Last finale too, season 1.
Well, that's normal though. I mean, that's a Star Trek thing.
We are spending so much time. We are seeing so many episodes of us being outside of Federation space, and Brass telling them you can't get involved.
There are too many episodes that are written that way, but being outside of Federation space isn't, like you said, maybe they should do more stuff. No, I don't want them in Federation space anymore. The problem is Federation space. They need to be out there exploring strange new worlds. They just don't need to have some sort of, they don't need to have something where, well, we can't do that all the time. You're right. I mean, there are elements of Star Trek that work that way, where it's like, okay, you got the Prime Directive, can't mess with the Prime Directive. Okay, well, we have a treaty with this, space with Romulans or whatever, and we can't, if we go into the neutral zone, it's going to cause a war. I mean, you get some of that, and you can play some of the best episodes of Star Trek go around that narrative. The problem is that you're right. We need to be able to actually land on some of these planets and go do some of these things. And we've already had moments where we had struggles with Klingons. Now we've had struggles with Gorn. Now we've had Rigel was a problem. So we've had all these different weird issues, and we only have 10 episodes. And then we've had singing and dancing and laughter and Three's Company episodes. So it's like tough, you're right. There's not enough episodes to really, and do we want more? Probably not. I don't know. So
the Trek reviewer said, is a good note. Brian, I hate to inform you, but the atom bomb came before the Atari. That's true, but you need something better than an Atari to guide a nuclear atom bomb.
Not according to the people who have those little submersible submarines that blew up, apparently, or that exploded underwater. You just need a little controller.
How would that work?
What was that? They had like a little,
they were using like a PS2 controller,
like a $19.99. Not even a normal PS2 controller.
It was like the off-brand. It was like the off-brand PS2 controller.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm just gonna go down to like the Titanic with this thing. And what if the batteries die? What if the batteries die?
What if the batteries die on the outside of the sub?
I mean, your controller, can you imagine, you're playing like Xbox or something, and that light starts to blink, and you're like, oh crap, I gotta replace my battery.
Guys, anyone have double A batteries? Anyone? Did anyone bring double A?
Check your backpack. So yeah, you're sitting on the floor over there with no windows, unless you're sitting on the toilet looking out the back. I'm sorry, it's all a very sad situation. We're not laughing at that, but
and there's only a window if you're going to the bathroom.
The design on these things.
Oh, it's so dumb. Okay. All right, moving forward with this. So they got to go lend aid because his boo is down there with her whole crew. Blah blah blah.
Oh, I will say that Ortega's finally got to go fly the shuttle.
Oh yeah,
so that's good.
I
actually thought it was pretty clever.
I am Ortegas and I fly the ship.
Stop. Okay, I did think it was clever the way they figured out they were going to get to the planet.
Right.
Whether or not the Gorn should be able to tell what space debris is and not, it was a clever idea, and they do science it down properly like a Star Trek show should.
Right.
And I did like that they even managed to change the look of the shuttle, actually change it. Instead of like, the way it would have been done in the past, because there wasn't a lot of money, is they would have shown the shuttle and said, yeah, we have this imaginary thing that makes us look like we're space junk, because they couldn't afford to change the look of the shuttle. But in this situation, reality of Star Trek is that you can, your shuttles can be auto created, right? They're generated on board the ship.
Right. So, that's a question. Are they generated?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the future they are. So on Voyager, they recreate them on on different Star Trek shows.
Oh, you mean they build the shuttles?
Yeah, they build them inside. They're.
Oh yeah, like the Delta Flyer, they built that.
Yeah. They're actually rebuilt on the ship. So could they have come up with some sort of giant version? I think it's like some giant version of like what is it? DCG print, not printing. The printing where
3D printing.
3D printing, like a futuristic
like
version.
Prodigy. Prodigy has that.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I accept that, and that way they can actually make a shuttle that looks like space junk, right?
Whatever.
What do you mean, whatever? I mean, listen to what
yeah,
I said.
I don't got a problem with any of that. I don't know why you would be 3D printing shuttles, but I suppose you could do that.
I mean, if you're gonna look how often they lose them.
So, I mean, but if you want to change the look of a ship, like we already have like hollow emitters and stuff like that active, easily available.
Not at this time, we don't know.
Well, but by this time, we also don't have the 3D printing of spaceships, shuttles either.
We don't know that though. It was never explored in TOS. We don't.
I guess
really
you're
know
right,
that.
but we always saw in the shuttle bays, we saw the uniform ships.
We just don't know. We don't know if if that was the case, because they didn't explore it and they didn't say it didn't happen. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you don't know.
All right.
That would be a place in canon that they could really have room to like mess with.
Yeah, I guess they can add to canon, in a way that's, but don't give them any ideas, Shane. No.
Well, I thought they cleverly handled something. Look, allow me to give it.
Zombie movie?
It's very few. Yeah, I hate that so much.
Yeah, by the way, Pike looks like an idiot this entire episode.
He does. And what's with him like needing to hug everybody that he realizes is safe
all the time?
Like, I don't get, like, at the end he like crazily embraces Christina Chong. But did you notice when he found her alive, he just was like, "What up?
Hey, what's up?"
It was like,
what's
what's up with that?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know, man. So Ortega flies the ship. Good for her. That's when they talk about the pockets of why can't they scan? What is it called? The Cayuga or whatever. The Cayuga. Why can't they scan the Cayuga?
Maybe I missed it. Perhaps the Gorn technology is allowing them not to do scanning, because I know they can't scan anybody on the planet. So maybe it also reaches the wreckage, and I perhaps missed that. Let me know in the chat, guys, if we missed that. Was that something that was actually in the episodes? Is this the reason why they couldn't find Chapel? Because otherwise, it's really a pretty blatant mistake if that's the case.
Well, I mean, but they do scan the planet at the end of the episode. They scan the planet.
Well, that's because they killed the...
Yeah, they killed the bad thing. Yeah, okay.
Whatever the thing was that was putting out the projected...
All right, so now this is another backlot where...
Yes. Archmage Frey says they can't use scanners. They have a field. So maybe that was the reason.
Okay.
I mean, they make a lot of mistakes, but that seems like that would have been a really ridiculous one to make. So even these guys should have caught that.
Okay. All right. That's fine. So now we're back. Now we're on the planet, and it's basically Escape from LA.
Well, it is 20th century Earth.
Yeah, it is. It's like instantly
century.
Everything is just like on fire and dark and like, okay.
Dude, if the aliens, if the xenomorphs from Alien showed up, that's what happens. You saw those movies. Come on, everything was jacked up.
I think if xenomorphs showed up on Earth, like nukes would go off. Like very few of us would be left, including them. Like
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I don't think it would
we
look
find
like
out
this.
they can handle radiation, and you're like, oh my god,
Like, oh shit, we just ruined ourselves.
and then they're like, humans are batteries. Oh my god. Sorry.
All right, now, so why the adolescent Gorn?
That was funny, by the way. Go ahead.
Are they? It was funny.
I don't know. So let me ask you this question. It really does. This whole Gorn thing is weird. So we get two different versions of Gorn in this episode, right?
Yeah, adult and teenagers.
And teenagers. So I don't understand. Maybe they must have heard us. They must have all. I bet when season 1 came out and they had the Gorn, they were like, and we were all like, hey, that's not what the Gorn looks like. And everybody's like, oh shit, they noticed. Oh damn. Right. And so now this episode, they had to have the same ones they created, but we did get this other version of Gorn. So maybe your theory was right, which was they evolve and become the Gorn that Kirk sees later.
Well, we already knew that. Like the adult Gorn, we didn't
already know that.
Well, in season 1, they explained that there was like baby, adolescent, and adult, and we had not seen the adult version.
No, they didn't explain that.
Yeah.
You said that.
No.
Nobody
I remember
that.
Chong's character was like the adults are bigger or something.
I don't remember.
Which indicated that that the adults look different than the adolescents.
They're no bigger. Not that they look different. I don't think so. I think they retconned themselves a bit here.
I mean, maybe. I assumed based on season 1 that there were the 3 stages of Gorn are basically the alien face huggers.
This was your theory, yes.
These weird dog velociraptor creatures, and then like a proper looking bipedal reptilian dinosaur thing that we see later on.
Yes, that was your theory.
But why?
Carl Davidson says they did explain it. All right, so maybe I'm missing something here.
Yeah, they did explain that there was the adult Gorn are different. I remember that.
I just didn't feel like I remember there being a connection to we were going to get a similar bipedal Gorn based on whatever they talked about in season 1. I don't recall that.
I don't know. That was my impression. So I'm assuming that they didn't. So the thing is, though, why are they sending all the adolescent teenagers down to the planet? Why isn't there like the bipedal adult Gorn on this mission?
They're apparently hanging out in the wreckage of the Cayuga.
It's so weird. That'd be like me telling my kid, "Hey, go down there and take care of this for me."
Well, maybe they are. Like you currently have your kids vacuuming, right? So maybe this is like for them a chore.
How do you know how my kid's vacuuming?
Because I have eyes everywhere.
That's a weird thing to say.
Well, you said it earlier.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. You said, make sure you guys are vacuuming. So I'm just using that as an example of, maybe perhaps this is just a chore that the kids do.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. We don't know Gorn civilization, apparently.
Well, it's stupid. It's stupid.
Did you notice that Pelly was acting weird this episode?
Like, oh, yeah. So they do say how the Gorn are managing the block communication. I'm sorry, what, Shane?
Do you notice how Pelly was acting weird this episode?
Yeah, I'm not liking that she just knows everyone all of a sudden. Like, I get it.
Well, that's the purpose of her character.
It's just already know everything.
Yeah, and my whole thing was they didn't need to get rid of Hemmer. This is a huge problem. So bringing in Carol Kane to be Commander Pelia really did nothing this season for us. I mean, what did she do? Episode 3, she gave us an opportunity to like time travel, so they time traveled and they found her in the past. Right. So she served that purpose. But that episode didn't need to be written with her in it. They could have written that episode with Christina and Kirk just understanding something that was in that time that would give them what they needed.
Right.
Right. They didn't need her for that. And now as we go through through all the episodes, the fact that she knows Una. Okay. Did we need that? No. The fact that she knows Scotty. Did we need that? No. Now, could Hemmer have been an instructor at Starfleet Academy and filled this same role where he was an instructor to these people? Yes. So why did we get rid of Hemmer? Because guess what? Carol Kane, I don't believe she's going to be there for season 3.
Oh no, obviously not.
So,
not now that Scotty is on
right.
the ship.
So it's like, what was the point of having her this season? She didn't really add anything to it. And they got rid of a really great character for honestly no purpose. I guess other than to bring him back so he can sing as a Klingon.
Yeah, I thought initially that maybe she was going to be some like bridge character between Scotty and the ship or something like that, but I don't know.
I mean, she is.
But it's ineffectual. It's not important. It's ineffectual. It's funny. It's when they did go back in time and they find the watch or whatever. Like, I guess she sort of points him in that correct direction. However, I suppose it could have been simply them walking by like a watch shop and seeing the watch. Like,
or how about this? How about every other Star Trek that travels back into the past when they just use the knowledge that they have from the future to figure out things from the, you know what I'm saying? They didn't need this. So
no, they didn't need Carol Kane in episode 3.
They didn't, and I don't think she added enough to the show to make the show better, honestly.
Right. They should have just kept Hemmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she didn't need to be everyone's instructor either. We didn't need that. Yeah,
it didn't really, I mean, it's interesting to have the idea, but what's really shitty about this is that Carol Kane basically says at the end of, or Pelia says at the end of this episode that Scotty was her worst student. This coming because of his the way he thinks outside the box on everything and the way he doesn't follow instructions. Bitch, you don't follow any instructions. You eat shit in your uniform. Because you've been around for so many thousands of years, you don't feel like you have to follow the rules. What the hell? I mean, come on. I mean, so he was your worst student, but yet like you're the worst engineer. You know what I'm saying? Like for following rules and doing it by the book. You don't do shit by the book. You didn't even listen to Una, who told you weren't doing it by the book. Said, if I listened to you, I'd never figure out anything. And it's like, well, come on now. You right?
Yeah, I completely agree. I have nothing to add to that, but you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Back on the planet. All right.
And yes, to clarify, he was her best student with the worst marks, and that's my point. Is that he got bad grades because he didn't follow the rules, and here, look at her. So,
and here we go. So then they discover Scotty. Here we go. This is Scotty, everyone. Scotty.
Didn't bug me.
No, didn't bother me.
He's an actual Scotsman.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. And he's using some device that he created to
perfect. Scotty needed to come in. If Scotty's coming into Star Trek, he needs to be a badass. He's a badass character, and he needs to come in and be a badass. And so I'm really glad that he came in and he was important. They didn't hide him. They didn't shuffle him off and just use his name. That he actually played an important role in what was happening, and we see his genius right away.
Right.
Unlike everything they've done to Spock, at least Scotty has been given a proper introduction.
Yeah, John. Shane specified. Best student, worst marks.
Yes.
Okay. That's all good. Here's the survivors of the Cayuga. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
That's a horn. That's good. I like that.
Cayuga.
Oh, so we find out that Beetle has eggs in her, that the Gorn got to her and impregnated her. Mm-hmm. And Pike is like, dang, I don't know if I can be with you no more.
No. Pike was like, damn, they beat me to it. I wanted to impregnate you.
So Beetle decides she's going to go basically commit suicide.
Real quick,
this
though.
is later on.
I want to talk about this swarm thing. Again, it doesn't make any sense that an intelligent, spacefaring, technologically advanced species would operate with insect-like instincts.
Right. It sounded like they were almost trying to give them a pass, like a reason, like trying to justify their violence. Just like it wasn't their fault. Like it's not their fault that they're out there being violent and attacking everybody. Didn't you get that impression?
Yeah. Maybe they're trying to give them an out. What if the Gorn are being controlled by some nefarious
brainiac character or something? What are you doing?
I don't know. Like they're obvious
sunspots.
Like they're clearly animals that want to feed and eat everything and just like aggressive, and I don't see how any of them could have possibly have built a ship, let alone pilot it, understand technology.
We really don't know enough.
So
like about this version of the
I mean, but if they are spurned by unbridled lust every time the sunspots happen, I mean, I'm not sure how they can get anything done. So maybe there's like a super Gorn. Maybe they evolved on a planet with 2 dominant species, and the major dominant species is like the puppet masters, and they don't suffer the same unbridled animalistic bloodlust.
Brian, you could literally create any storyline you want at this point because there's no information to go off of. So, I mean, your theory crafting would be really a huge shot in the dark at this point.
I know. I'm just trying to explain, why would a technologically advanced spacefaring race of aliens fall prey to sunspots across the galaxy?
They're not falling prey. They're destroying everything in their wake.
No, when I say fall prey, I'm saying they can't control their unbridled bloodlust every time a solar flare happens. Remember how many stars there are in the galaxy? Solar flare is going to happen.
No. CMEs, big major solar.
Okay,
flare
so
event,
giant
little ones.
So you're telling me that it's such a rare event. It only happens these little tiny spots. There's billions of stars, dude.
Yeah, but they're not hanging out around billions of stars, and it's not every time any star. They happen to be right now close to a CME.
They're close. So
I'm not. Stop making me defend the Gorn. The thing is like,
my question: are we close to Gorn space? Is that?
Yes, we are. They just told us it's on the border, right there. The Federation space, this planet, and the Gorn are right there. So
why are they dropping a new colony off next to the Gorn planets?
They're not part of the Federation. They're not part of Starfleet. So these people did their own damn thing. They don't control where people decide to settle. Sometimes we settle people on our own.
Again, it looks like 1983 Orange County, but okay.
I got you. So we don't know enough about the Gorn to know. Now, perhaps these CMEs hit them. They go and they destroy everything. And they're like, cool, we got all kinds of shit now. Let's keep building spaceships until the next CME hits them. And then they go and attack and ravage more. So it could be a periodic thing where in between they become some sort of spacefaring race. Granted, at this point, with the information we have, it makes no sense. But perhaps in seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10, we'll find out more about the Gorn.
Maybe.
If you think it'll last that long.
No, I don't think it will. Do not think it will. Have they shot season 3 yet?
No.
All right, so we're not.
It's just been greenlit.
We're not going to see a conclusion to this for like 5 years.
At the rate we're going, yeah, they can't even decide like when to come sit down at the table and talk to each other. Like and I'm telling you, the reason why is because the studios are like, you need to drag this shit out as long as possible. We are just making money hand over fist, not having to pay for anything right now. So yeah, they lost so much money. The studios are going to do so well thanks to this strike. It's ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. Just so you guys know, that these strikes aren't. It's not like the second the strikes are over, they can get to work. Because it takes. You got to negotiate contracts. You got to set up shooting schedules. You have to get the right locations. Like, there is a lot of setup just to start filming. Like, they have to write, plan their there's so much. There's like a couple years of work that needs to go into this stuff, and we haven't even started yet. We haven't even negotiated the first page of this. We're not going to see a conclusion to this for a long, long time.
Oh yeah, no. 2024 is done. Yeah, like if it wasn't already like mostly in the can, I mean, we may not have. Next year is going to be an interesting year. Good time to catch up on content or spend more time on YouTube with us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We'll be putting out stuff.
we got to start making low budget Star Trek.
Well, yeah. I don't know if we could do it, but it'd be fun to play with.
Chapel's the only survivor, by the way, on the Cayuga. Somehow. I don't know how.
Well, and this whole thing is just what's weird. Like, it wasn't a small pocket of air. Like, this is a ginormous pocket of air. Like, literally, like, where is she at in the ship right now? I don't know, but it's so much space that I can't believe when Spock was scanning for oxygen that he didn't go, well, we have a 5,000 square foot space of oxygen. Maybe we should check there. You know what I'm saying? Like when he said small pockets of space, I'm like, oh, maybe like she's like, balled up in a little tiny,
in
like,
a Jeffrey's tube or something.
Yeah, trying to like get a little bit of, hold her breath or whatever. I mean, that was what that sounded like
She's
to me.
Walking down hallways and then checking out the giant.
I mean, the
areas.
computer's still operating. It likes asking for like the correct, command code, right? And like you now have environmentals for 1 hour. Like she's like, great, I only have an hour left. I'm like, damn, we didn't think, it's just totally different than what they set up her situation to be. And the reason they did it is because they wanted to move the plot forward in this way. And this is one of the problems with the show. Of course, they had to have their, dangling tail. Why is that Gorn over there? Why is it in the debris?
It's
just
like,
hanging out.
It's trying to find something, I guess. So it's like hanging off the wall and inputting.
Do we know what it's trying to find?
We don't. I don't think we do. I mean, I didn't catch it. If someone
access maybe to command code.
Someone in the chat, let me know if they catch anything about.
What is the Gorn doing over there? If you guys know, because I don't recall what it is. Other than opportunity, or I mean, I can guess a bunch of things.
Archmage made a good point. She may not be the only survivor. They just never checked.
Listen, the only one that matters is Chapel. Come on, let's be fair here. Even Battelle like barely mattered,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So she figures out that it's the Gorn. Oh, there's the first look of the adult Gorn.
So what do we got here? I mean,
it's bipedal. It looks like this is a pretty good updated version, I think, of the Gorn.
Yeah, I actually would have been okay.
The face seems very small to me, but
but I would have been okay with a bipedal version of the Gorn, in any way, shape, or form. Honestly,
sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with this.
Yeah, for some reason it keeps typing in command codes. I don't know why.
So I guess he's trying to steal. He's probably trying to steal information from Starfleet.
Right.
Secrets,
Yeah, I didn't know they were smart enough to do that. So,
well, they're spacefaring race. They have to be.
Right. They don't exhibit any of those.
We didn't get any information up to this point. That is part of the problem. Is like we really needed to see more Gorn if this is what you're going to do. I mean. And the only way honestly, yeah.
Why was Spock
new universe, new universe, new universe, new universe, new universe, new universe?
Okay. Altered
universe, whatever you want to call it. Spock was there because, and doing a Spock thing that Spock does is like, look, I'm the only, a human can't survive what I'm about to do. I'm not exactly sure why they didn't really show what the danger was. Must have been some sort of radiation thing. But of course he's going to sacrifice himself. And then they do the dumbest thing, number one says, I know you have feelings for Chapel, but don't do this. I'm like, listen, Spock does this whether or not he has feelings for Chapel, because Spock, that's the way he operates. The needs of the
many outweigh the needs of the few.
And that's the way he operates, not because he's sad about Chapel and now he wants to kill himself.
I'm so sad about Chapel. Let me kill myself.
That's what she was. That's what she was basically intimating, was that he just wanted to go kill himself because Chapel's dead.
Right. Silly.
It's dumb. It's just not Star Trek.
Silly nonsense. All right. And that's when she sees like the giant Gorn attacking his side piece. And this whole fight.
They're not side pieces no more.
Okay, well, I'm sorry
for this episode.
Yeah, the home wrecker. I gotta say, I do like this version of the Gorn. I wish that we had just gotten this version from the Gets, but
this should have been the only version of the Gorn. We don't need babies. We don't need egg laying things. I mean, even if we did get egg laying things, I mean, you could do the egg laying stuff, but does it have to be babies? Does it have to be the alien version where they attach to your face and shit? Like, they just give us these Gorn, right?
I don't mind that if. I don't think we need the adolescent version of this. Like, yes, there's an adolescent version, but like they're so drastically different.
Why do we even need to see how they're born?
We don't really need to see any of that.
How many human children, babies, do we ever see in Star Trek?
Yeah, I guess it's not really important.
None.
Well, I guess because the way they're born is like they implant the humans with eggs. Maybe that's why it's important to see how they're born.
I guess if that's your storyline, I guess then you need to do that. But they probably should have given us the adult Gorn first instead of the babies. Like if we had gotten in season 1 the adult Gorn, even though it would have made absolutely zero sense based on the line, we should have not gotten Gorn at all at this point. At least it would have been like, oh yeah, those are Gorn, like an updated version of Star Trek Gorn. Makes sense.
Then they can add to the lore after and reintroducing this species.
I will say though, the Gorn is way bigger than us, which is not
because it was very disappointing when we never got to see the adult Gorn. We should have seen the adult Gorn.
Yeah.
And then they could have gone deeper into the lore and explained the process.
Yeah, I think
it wouldn't have been as jarring.
And it wouldn't have opened himself up to criticism with this alien ripoff thing.
At least they can't survive like the vacuum of space like xenomorphs can.
That's true.
Imagine that. Imagine if he stabs it and it's like, what? Yeah. I don't need air.
Why did I find it? You know, it's funny. I found it surprising that Gorn had a mask on.
Oh,
I did. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay. So, I mean, because I just assumed that it would just be able to breathe in space. So
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. Okay, because it's xenomorphs.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't assume they could breathe in space, but yeah.
That's why, because they followed that pattern.
So Pike's like, why did the Gorn run away? And she's like, because it impregnated me. And I'm going to die with this.
No, she said, I didn't want to tell you. Wait.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to put you at risk or whatever. Because it
happened yesterday.
She has this thing where she thinks that she's going to turn any minute now or whatever. So she doesn't want to. And this is what drives me nuts. This is what drove me nuts in the first season. You get infected with Gorn eggs. You are in a, like, this is Starfleet. You're telling me you don't have the technology to remove the eggs?
Right. Yeah, or at least try. Well, he is saying to do that. Like, he's telling her, like.
But to me, I understand that, but that seems like a logical thing. Her first response shouldn't be like, I don't want to put you guys at risk. Her first response would be like, yeah, when we get back to the ship, take this crap out of me.
Well, I don't agree with that. I think that Starfleet personnel are sacrificers. She may have got herself convinced that she's going to die.
But they know
anyways.
They have like 3 days. And she was bitten.
It doesn't matter. She's thinking of the group. So I can go and sacrifice myself and kill all the Gorn. I mean, I give her a pass on that. She's not going to be reasonable at this point.
We did like same thing with season 1 though. When Hemmer gets bitten, and like an hour and a half later, he's like, "I'm gonna throw myself off the ship."
We were just mad that Hemmer was gone
because it made no sense.
We were just mad, yeah,
because he had plenty of time to go back to the ship and get fixed up, or just walk out into the cold.
Yeah, the best thing that could have happened to Batel is for her to die a hero. Like for me. Like, she needs to go anyways.
Yeah, she does have to
So I was like, yeah, this is a great ending for her. No Pike, no Chris. Let her go, you know. Hemmer, he understood.
He understood what? Maybe
he's off the show.
That he was fired? Think about this. And I'm beating a dead horse here. But he is a species that was born in freezing temperatures, and the Gorn can't survive cold. He could have just walked outside and waited for the eggs to hatch, and then they would have died, or they would just died. That would have been a great way to show how unique his species is.
Well, and how about for her? I agree with you 100%. How about for her? She sticks her arm in like a freezing thing. She loses her arm, but the rest of her survives.
Right? Oh, that would have been cool, like the one-arm Batel.
Yeah.
Hey. And maybe then we can give her like a robot arm with like a hook.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
All right. Because we know that they have like robotics in Discovery. They come from Discovery, and wasn't there like a robotic chick in Discovery? Remember the robot chick? She had like all kinds of cybernetic parts.
Yeah. Let's forget about that.
She reminded me of Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
She was like a direct ripoff of Nebula.
Never had a Star Trek character like that before, but that's okay. I guess They've already created a place in this
Altered
universe.
timeline.
Altered timeline. That's right.
All right, so they beam him up, and this is when they. No,
Spock.
Not now, Spock.
I don't have time for your emotional bitching right now, Spock. Just back off. What are you going to cry about everything in our relationship?
Hey, leave me alone, you simp. You piece of Vulcan trash. I don't have the emotional bandwidth for your whining right now. Get out of my face.
Okay.
I got work to do, you emotional trash person. Get out of here.
We got time to talk about this later. Okay.
We're obviously overreacting.
Yeah, I mean, but it's
funny. Like the person who should have been like, "We'll talk about this later," is the guy who doesn't want to talk about his emotions.
Right. You know, he was the one. I'm afraid I'm going to lose her. Well, wasn't she afraid she was going to lose the whole ship too? I mean, I don't know. It's just, yeah. God.
We're obviously nitpicking this.
No, this to me is not nitpicky.
I mean, it's
like,
nitpicky.
The whole Spock thing is not nitpicky. Like, I don't like his character like this.
Right, but he is this way because the timeline was altered, and he grew up with a very wait. We know this. He wasn't this way in Discovery. His sister was a very, very emotional girl,
right?
That cried about everything. You don't think he picked up any of those cues?
He wasn't this way in Discovery. That's the problem.
Wasn't he insane for half the episodes in Discovery?
No, only at the very beginning he was a little crazy, but then he was very Spock-like in Discovery.
I like science.
He was Spock. They could have just continued that being the exact same character. The only good thing to come out of Discovery was that Spock was who Spock was supposed to be once they got him out of the craziness. You know, and they could have just kept on running with that character.
Yeah, this is when Pike's like, I'm so happy to see.
Yeah. Who's that behind him? Is that Patel?
That's
Patel didn't get a hug when they got down to the planet. What the hell? Can you rewind that and show that embrace? I'm pretty sure he's swallowing her with his torso.
Get over it. Look. I think she's a smoke show. Okay.
Well, apparently so does Pike.
You think she looks like a 12-year-old boy. We're on two opposite sides of the coin here.
Sometimes back and forth. Like sometimes.
Come here, you.
Come here. Oh, bring it in. Bring it in. Let me tell you what, if my captain had ever hugged me, I would have freaked the fuck out.
I mean, to be fair, here I have a person that I worked with very closely who was much younger than me that I trained on how to use technology and how to and she worked for us for a while, and I'm very close to her. She's like a daughter to me, and she's moving right now to Texas, and I've known her since she was a child, and I hug her the same way. Like I am actually pretty emotional about it today, knowing that she's gonna be gone, in a week. So I completely understand, like, if he has the same connection to this person that he sees as, like, I don't know, but
it's not remotely the same. And here's the thing: what branch of the military are you in, Brian?
Army.
Right now? No.
Oh, right now, none.
Okay, thank you. Shut up. Okay.
Oh, I see.
So there's a professional layer here,
right?
That he gave to Battelle, but does not exist with any of the characters on his crew. And it's just what it does is it lessens the character of Pike. They handled it really well in the episode, the second episode, when Una gets off, right? And she's no longer in jail, and like she's back, and you could tell he's been like stressed out. She's his first officer, she's his XO. Right. And he momentarily breaks down and embraces her, right, in an emotional moment. And then they quickly like straighten it out and clean it up. Right. That is the way you handle that situation. And now he can't just go around hugging all the people that he works for and loving on them like they're his children. It just doesn't work that way. It's lame.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. She is so hot. Like, what are you talking about? I'm seeing this chat. The chat's like,
I'm sorry.
She's the opposite of attractive. Look at this girl.
Look at her. Look at this. Yeah, she looks like a 12-year-old boy right here, man.
What are you Look at her. Smoking? What? All right.
I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe.
Although I'll tell you this. Whoever said in the chat earlier that T'Pring is like 20 times more attractive? Like, yes, I agree.
Yeah. T'Pring's
Yeah,
way better.
like in terms of just attractive levels, I don't know how you even possibly consider her over.
They've turned Chapel into like this anime type looking character.
She does. She does look like one
an
of those like
anime.
5,000-year-old wizards that look like they're 12, but they're a 5,000-year-old wizard, so it's okay for you to lust after them. You're like, oh no, it's cool. She's 5,000 years old. Like, baby, she looks like a 12-year-old, but she's not. She's 5,000 years old, but she looks 12.
Yeah, that's what they've done here.
Bro, she looks 12, but she's 5,000. I don't care how old her imaginary age is. The character looks like she's 12. It's weird that you have wallpapers of her on your desktop, Holly. I told my buddy that like the other day. I was like, bro, why is there like 12-year-old, like a whole group of 12-year-old girls with bikinis on your desktop? He's like, no, that's an anime thing. I'm like, and they're all like they're like way older in the anime. I'm like, bro, they all still look like
it also might be my age. I mean, I'm gonna be 50 in a couple weeks, and it's really hard for me to look at somebody who looks like they're like 18 and go, oh, it just doesn't work that way for me.
So whatever it is, Pike
I have a 20-year-old daughter, so it's just kind of like weird. Save Patel.
And she's like, I have no intention of not saving her. Like, listen, bitch, why don't you just say yes, sir?
Well, I know. How come you can't, or earlier when he's telling Patel, have you tried? Why can't you just say, oh, I appreciate it. Didn't work. Thanks. I mean, like, what happened to just being like, because the problem is that if they just say thank you, then in today's world, then you just let a man tell you how it is. Instead of we're coworkers or we work together and I'm taking your advice, whether you're a man, woman, or whatever you are. It's just
this moment
really
actually
shows how sensitive people are.
And the thing is, like, so these moments aren't supposed to bother us because they're so small. But like when it's every single interaction with the captain is this way, it starts to build until you can't help but be annoyed by it, right?
Right.
And this is one of those moments where he's like, I'm not giving up on her. And her response should be, yes, sir, or neither am I, sir. But it's just like, I have no intention of doing that. I don't understand. Why don't you just treat him like a captain?
Because it's not strong then, dude. It's not strong if she just agrees.
And is she the doctor or the nurse? Someone tell me what she is.
She has to have her own space of authority at all times in her bubble.
Where is
it? You gotta enter my bubble of authority, Brian. The captain has entered her bubble of authority.
Dude, Dr. Mbenga, am I saying it right?
It's just funny when you say Mbenga because it sounds like you're.
I don't know how to say it. Like, so earlier in the episode, he said Dr. Manga, but I feel like he said it wrong.
Nobody knows what the name is. It's like
whatever, but like he's almost never around. She is always the one doing the doctor stuff for some reason. It's so weird to me. It's so weird to me. Where wasn't Mbenga with them on the planet? Like, I don't know.
You know what? Mbenga, he wasn't a very small part of the role. He actually said something like, hell yeah, I want to get some of that medicine or something. I don't know. Something about it. Because they all of a sudden, like them, like doing something wrong against Starfleet was like some sort of like medical protocol that now is like an analogy. And it reminded me of like, I need more cowbell, baby. I need more cowbell. Right? You know, it was like, it reminded me of the SNL skit, right? Where everybody's like, I need that prescription. You know, like I need more what that's prescribed. Just prescribe some kick ass.
It's reminding me of that Dwayne the Rock Johnson sketch about with like the pharmacy one.
Yeah,
remember?
That's funny.
I told my doctor I need it, and I'm gonna get it now. Right. His doctor's like, you shouldn't take this. It's gonna kill you. He's like, I don't care.
That's what this episode is. We're gonna do it whether we like it or not.
Side effects include.
I know you love that episode.
It was so good. Side effects include was like dryness of dry mouth, sore throat, satanic rituals.
That's a good SNL skit. If you
That
guys
is one of the greatest SNL sketches I've ever seen. I know there's a lot, but that one I have never failed And you know what? I'm going to play it in the members section.
You know what? It was number 9. You need to play 2 SNL ones in the member section. The top 2 darkest SNL skits has Dwayne The Rock Johnson in both of them.
Really? Okay,
that's number 9, and number 10 is this one that he did where he invented like a robot for like a thing.
Oh yeah.
Like we don't say it here, because if you say it here, we'll immediately.
No. Yeah, I remember. We'll get double demonetized.
It will be like they'll come to our house and take our computers, not just shut us down, but like come and like confiscate all of our stuff.
Disconnect the cameras.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna play those 2 SNL sketches in the members section. Please remind me.
Yeah.
All right. So this is when Carol Kane meets Scotty. Hello, Scotty. You 2 know each other? You know what's funny is, Professor, you 2 know each other? My response would have been like, of course they do, Captain Pike. She knows everyone of note.
What she should have told Pike to stay with the way they were doing this episode is, of course I know him, right? That's what all the women have told
Of course
Pike.
I know him, you idiot. Right. Now go play on the bridge.
Right. No, go cook something.
No, go cook. No, go cook or put some Promamon in your hair, you idiot. All right, so Scotty. I did like Scotty, though.
I mean, he was exactly what you would expect for a young Scotty. I mean, I have no problem at all with that character and the way it was established.
So they scan the planet after destroying whatever device, and he reads, no human life signs on Panera Bread. And because the Gorn had teleported them into their ships to use them as birthing people.
Right.
By the way, so you know there's like 2 terms now. Like you can't, because of like the new woke era, you can't say like mothers and fathers. You have to say like birthing and non-birthing people or whatever.
I don't want
or birthing person and non-birthing birthing
care who
person.
Comes up with that. I'm not saying that.
Whatever. I don't care either. All I'm saying is, when I did hear that, my first thought was like, isn't that like the Gorn uses the people as
the birthing people?
As birthing people. Now here's the great part, or actually, I would say not great part. They're asking.
Wait, what is it? Great or not great?
It's not great. I'm being sarcastic. Oh. They're asking Captain Pike what to do. Captain, what do we do, Captain? He's just like,
you know what he's gonna do. This is not a cliffhanger, by the way. Do not.
I don't know, man.
This is not a cliffhanger. So what's he contemplating? What's the problem here?
They're
like being fired upon.
What? Yeah.
And what so he's not supposed to attack the Gorn because, of course, he's afraid he's going to start a war.
There's already a war.
Bitch is already firing at you, dog.
Yeah, they're already firing at you. I'm sorry. Is there an order that says you're not allowed to fire back? I'm sorry. If you are a part of a military organization that tells you not to fire back when someone's firing weapons on you, leave that organization. Okay, you're in a bad organization that is prone to failure. Right. There's no way Starfleet is not going to allow them to fire back when they've already destroyed multiple Starfleet ships, and now they're being fired on. I don't know why it's taking him so long to make a decision. Is he having like a PTSD moment? Like, what's going on right now?
The plot requires him to wait so they can have a cliffhanger for this season.
It makes him look stupid.
Well, it's just not going to go down that way. Of course, season 3 is going to come out, and he's going to be like, fire. Like, that's going to be the start of season 1, episode 3 is going to be like fire. That's it. And then we're at war with the Gorn. So get ready, guys. Season 3 will be war with the Gorn. Mm. Well, but maybe not. Maybe we'll have a musical 1 episode. Maybe we'll have like maybe everything will be in subtitles in a different language for 1 episode, so we can get like this foreign film feel of a Star Trek episode. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
maybe we'll do one of those.
It's like sepia tone with.
Right.
It's all in like Romulan subtitles.
That'd be cool. How about an episode where all they do is tap dance and listen, the tap dancing is in Morse code.
What about a silent film? What about when it's like it's just music and they randomly show like text on the right. Captain Pike goes to the kitchen.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Yeah, they do Charlie Chaplin stuff where they chase each other around and
Or
fall
like
down.
a film noir feel. Maybe Captain Pike is a detective, and he has
Well,
to
that's-
find
yeah.
and like this very sexy girl in red comes in like, Detective, I need your help. In that moment, the dame was more legs and less head, but I knew I had to help her. One of
And
those.
then we learned that the holodeck was created based on Strange New World's actual life experiences. That was it. They said we need a holodeck because we can't keep going this way with the Federation.
Okay, we have some super chats. Michael Nemo was going ham over here on the Streamlabs site.
There's also one for Son and John in the member section.
Okay, so let's do this. If you guys don't know where to message us and support us, you can go to streamlabs.com/the Popcast Live. The link is in the top right of this screen. It's also somewhere, I'm sure, in the description. I'll also put it in the chat for everyone. Basically, this is what the Son of John said. He was just going ham over here. So his first message. From Michael Nemo. My hands down favorite nod to science in this episode was Chapel shouting through space at Spock.
What? Oh, wait. Was which one was it? Oh, she tried when she went Spock. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That was good. How about the fact that she had like a flashlight and she was able to like make it go off like 3 times and then it died? Oh, can't say
Spock.
Spock, can you hear me? And then the Spock's like, what would have been better if like Spock was like, I think I hear Chapel talking to me. He's using the Force.
Michael Nemo also said Pelia has to put down Scotty because the writers hate smart men.
Ooh.
Honestly, I thought the same thing. I'll tell you why. I was like, maybe
There's no smart men on the show.
Maybe they, well, maybe they can't bring in Scotty because, like, in order to do him right, you have to make him smarter than the average person.
Well, think about it. What man on the show has done anything smart? Nurse Chapel does all the smart stuff, not M'Benga in the medical, right? Is there anybody on the bridge? I mean, it's Spock's an idiot the whole time. I mean, they basically treat him like he's a fool.
Right.
So Pike cooks and hugs his people. I haven't seen him hardly do any captaining. One episode, I think, this whole year he did something interesting. Is there any other guys in the show? Kirk, James T. Kirk's brother. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Hemmer, they killed him. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, you got a good point there.
There's nobody. April, nobody listens to his orders.
No one listens to him. No one listens to him whatsoever. So Michael Nemo goes on to say, wasn't it great seeing 3 women and Spock sitting around a table planning how to get down to the planet and having Spock not be a part of any of the planning aside from him volunteering? What would he do without women around him?
Well, that's what the message is. He wouldn't do anything because you can't operate the ship without the ladies. And that's the message that they want us to get in today's society. Listen, here's the screwed up thing about it. We already knew that. Like it's okay for all of us to work together as men and women doing it. Like you can have smart men and smart women on a ship working together.
Sure.
You don't have to make all the men idiots and incapable in order for the women to be capable.
100%
I don't know
agree.
who the hell came up with this concept or this idea that like they don't think that we're intelligent enough human beings to be able to understand that they're both intelligent and that only the women can only be intelligent to men if they see the men being stupid.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I don't know who came up with this concept, but it's dumb.
Yeah.
And I wish they would backtrack that shit.
No, I completely agree. He goes on to say in his last super chat, thank you, by the way, Michael Nemo.
Appreciate the support, Michael.
We really appreciate it. We need it. Strange New World's writing makes me think that if it had been M'Benga or any other Starfleet officer, on the Cauga, Spock would have been like, meh, I'm staying here.
That's what they made it seem like, right? That's
Right,
just
yeah.
not fit. That's not Star Trek. Thank you, Michael, for pointing that out, because it's just not. That's Spock's motivation. Maybe there would have been an internal motivation for Spock, knowing that Chapel's over there and the way he feels about her. It would have been one more reason for him to want to go, and maybe we would sense that from him somehow through his actions, but never through his face, and never through the words of himself or his, you know. And if the words would have come from like Una, when McCoy ever called Spock out on possibly doing something human, Spock always shut him down. Right? How can Spock be more enlightened now than he is in a few years?
Right.
He's more enlightened and understanding now than he is later. It's just, that's what rings untrue about the whole thing.
Right.
And, you know, alternate timeline.
Alternate timeline, baby. Connor made a good point here. They can figure out a small energy source for a phaser, but not a flashlight. Are you kidding me?
Oh, the batteries run out. Anybody got D's? Some C's? I don't know.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Yeah, so that's pretty much the whole episode. Listen, I thought it was a massive cop-out. First off, to leave it on a cliffhanger is just... it's just dirty. Not being able to actually produce a colony that doesn't look like I walked outside my house is cheap. It's a cop-out, obviously. There's a lot of parts of this I don't like. I don't like the way Pike was treated the majority of the season. We never really got a good moment. Well, maybe in episode 4 we did, but the majority of the season we didn't get very much. The Pike was pretty much just a fixture that was just sort of bossed around by the more capable people around him. I didn't like that. This whole season has been a massive disappointment. We went into this thinking, hey, we're going to give it a shot. We liked the majority of season 1. Let's give it a go. I was even excited. In fact, when I watched the first few episodes for screeners, I actually was like, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But the more I watched it, the more I disliked it. I didn't like the order in which they were. Someone said, well, Anson Mount had a kid and had to leave during the filming of the first episode. Okay, so don't film the first episode.
Yeah, we get almost no Anson Mount for like the first several episodes. It's really weird. And, somebody tweeted something out that was, Twitter's a mean place, so I'm not going to put anything on it. But somebody tweeted out, Nerdrotic tweeted out something, and then they replied, and it had nothing to do with us. And they just took an opportunity to take a cheap shot at us and said something about, oh, remember when the Popcast guys told us that we should watch Strange New Worlds, that we should trust Strange New Worlds? Yeah, never listen to anything the Popcast guys ever say again. And it's like, it's funny because the people who say things like that, it's like, we've just tried to be really honest about everything. So when Strange New Worlds came out, we were hopeful that this would be a change. You got to remember, all we had was Discovery at that time when Strange New Worlds came out. And if you look at Discovery, it was like, wow, this is just not Trek for guys at all.
Right.
Like period. So there was this hope that this Strange New Worlds would be a version of Star Trek that we could enjoy, the old legacy fan people.
Right.
And when season 1 came out, it was like, oh, okay, there's some kind of trippy stuff here, but it is definitely way better than Discovery, and it's not bad Trek. So, okay, we can watch this. And so, of course, we had Picard season 3. And since Strange New World, which was great, right? And since Strange New World season 2 was like coming out, we thought, well, maybe at least it'll be as good or about the same as season 1, and then it will be acceptable, something we can watch. But it's just obviously been off the rails from the very beginning. So,
yeah.
And we've been honest about that. So for anybody who thinks that we're trying to hype up a show, we've essentially, by our reviews this season of Strange New Worlds, will guarantee that we will never get screeners again for Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be a done deal.
I mean, we'll ask again, but I doubt it's going to happen.
So if we cared about, our access or money or things more than telling the truth, then obviously we would have been talking about Strange New Worlds, that it's a wonderful show, much like other Star Trek channels who don't want to lose their access do currently.
Right.
So we don't do those things.
Right.
So when you get a tweet of something like that, it's like, come on, you obviously don't know that we are being sincere in whatever we
Well,
say.
no, honestly, to be honest, it actually hurts a little bit. And I'll tell you why, at least for me. Because we're only ever honest about it, and often at our detriment. Like we don't benefit from being honest. And we had plenty of chances to be dishonest and increase our access and maybe even our our value monetarily. And we never took that option. So when you see tweets like that, you're like, either you don't know us or you're just an asshole.
Or a little of both.
Or a little of both. Because just because we say you should give it a shot, listen, I think you should give everything a shot.
Right.
If you're interested in a franchise, give it a shot. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then be honest about it.
Well, and if you can't like allow yourself to watch an episode of something to say whether or not you like it or don't, then I don't know what to say to you. Like, you should be able to watch an episode. Now, some people are saying, well, I don't want to support Paramount in any way, shape, or form. Listen, you watching an episode of a show is not going to support Paramount. Okay. It's you deciding whether it's good or not. And if it's not good and you don't want to support Paramount, then don't watch it.
Yeah, but you know what? Don't watch anything on Paramount then. Don't be like, I'm not going to.
Maybe they don't. No, I think that's the case.
Yeah, don't watch anything. I don't want you to watch anything Paramount. No, just so you know, there's a lot of things on other streaming services that were produced by Paramount. So good luck with that. Good luck with that, for real. Like, this whole thing, like, if you're watching it, you're supporting it. No. There's a difference.
I'm okay
between
with boycotting. I mean,
you can boycott all you want. That's completely fine. But just because we're saying give something a shot, and then the minute we see it, we're like, yeah, this didn't work. That's not us being shows. That's us being honest.
Right. And it doesn't affect your boycott, and we're not encouraging people not to boycott. Like, look, if you have a strong feeling about that you don't want to support this because you think it's wrong and in some sort of characterization that you don't support, then by all means boycott it. But I wouldn't judge people who have a different opinion of yourself, because even though we may be playing on the same side of the field, it doesn't make you right.
Sure.
So
that's true. And we definitely lost. I'm almost positive we lost.
What's
access.
that?
I'm almost positive we lost access.
No, why would anybody give us access when we've burnt the thing down this season? And not because we wanted to. Trust me. The last thing we want to do is not be able to make content because something's terrible.
That affects us bad in every way.
On Star Trek, in order to speak of it this way, means that we've essentially committed suicide. So
yeah, it's true. When like
professional suicide.
When like 80% of your videos are all about Star Trek, and you're like, well, Star Trek is crappy now, so
it's hard to come back.
And the question is like, all right, so what's next? I guess we're gonna make a Barbie video.
Well, yeah. Those people are also not gonna like that video.
And here's the segue. Okay, yeah. If you thought we lost our access by complaining about Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, just wait until you see the Barbie video. Right. We 100%. Like, at some point, like, we knew we were burning the bridge, but as I was lighting like normal fires, Shane was behind me, like, you know what? I'm just gonna put napalm on the entire thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
right.
I'm sorry. I saw it. And
I burned the bridge, and then Shane launched like an orbital missile at the bridge with this Barbie video. So speaking of that, great transition, by the way. But before we get in the transition, I do want to address Son of John in the members section.
Thank you.
And let me make sure I can put it on the screen. Son of John, thank you, by the way, Son of John. Son of John's been supporting us for a long time. He says, Disco, Strange New Worlds changed Star Trek into a Star Wars alien variant, taking an element of what Star Trek is supposed to be as sci-fi and replacing it as a fantasy to attract the Star Wars crowd, pimping new Star Trek classic New Coke to us. Yeah. Interesting. You know, a lot of people hate New Coke, but I sort of like New Coke.
They don't make New Coke anymore.
No, when I was younger, I was like, this isn't bad.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
It wasn't as sweet as regular Coke.
Which is why we liked Coke.
You know what's interesting? Coke Zero to me tastes a little bit like New Coke.
I don't drink new Coke. You know, it's funny. I don't like Coke Zero. That makes sense.
I love Coke Zero.
I like Pepsi Zero though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Son of John makes a good point here. And I think also the Star Wars bleeding into Star Trek is a result of people who don't understand Star Trek, who think that Star Wars and Star Trek are the same thing.
Yeah.
And they're not. Yeah. They're two totally different things. Star Trek, of course, being based in science, and Star Wars being based in fantasy. And yet we have what we have.
Star Wars is very much fantasy. That's funny. Darth Maul was like, he poured kerosene in the subspace fold.
I swear to God, I got PTSD from this subspace fold stuff. So just note that going forward, I'm not going to be able to watch an episode and see a subspace fold and not like freak out.
Subspace fold. It's just like so effing stupid.
Right.
Like it might be, it's one of the stupidest things I have seen on television. I don't want to get back into that. From No Money G for $20, my man. No Money G. This is what he says. I didn't mind season 1. This season has been abhorrent for me. It's juvenile writing, to each their own. Thank you, No Money G, for the support, my friend.
Thanks, buddy.
And I agree with you. Yeah, it feels juvenile. You know what it feels like? It feels like the writers might have been leaning on ChatGPT a little bit.
I mean, I don't know why. Okay, well, explain yourself.
So, like, imagine if you're writing, you're like, what planet was that again? And when did whatever? And they can search up Star Trek facts, but like what they don't quite understand is that like 50% of everything ChatGPT says, even when it says it with authority, is totally incorrect. So like they base a lot of their like ideas on things that are like a subspace fold. Imagine if like one of the what did they talk to GPT? List Star Trek anomalies that could alter brain chemistry, and it's like a subspace fold,
which sounds like it might work, but doesn't actually work.
That's what ChatGPT does.
Right. Yeah.
So if you ask ChatGPT real questions, it's gonna give you back answers as if it's a definitive statement. Like it is literally
confident.
It's confident. Yeah. Lawyers have gotten in trouble recently because they go, I need to list me cases involving this type of law or this type of precedent, right? Mm-hmm. And it'll give it back a bunch of cases and be like, Connors versus Ready 3, and this is what they said, and it will give like real case numbers and plaintiffs and defendants and all that and what happened, and it will save the lawyer a bunch of work. And they're like, oh, this is great, except for all of it's made up.
Right, and none of it's real court cases.
Because it'll get it because it's looking through court cases, but it's mixing up all the information just to provide an answer. It's not actually trying to provide a correct answer. It's just providing an answer. Right. And then the lawyer takes this as precedent when it goes in front of a judge. And then at some point, after they win the case, the judge is checking their work, crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and they look up the court cases and they don't exist. And then the lawyers are being disbarred for using for all these like fraudulent cases.
This a fact?
This is actual fact.
Oh, really?
3 lawyers now have gotten in trouble for using ChatGPT. Not that they're not allowed to, but they didn't check their work. So
the judges also need to get checked because they should get fired as well because they should know.
No, but they do. They can't in the middle of the courtroom. No, they're not going to stop.
Before saying they're eating. Okay, so it's before they saying, you're guilty or innocent. I mean, before a judge proclaims.
No, but say in the middle of the courtroom, they lay down their verdict. Now, when they're doing the paperwork after the fact, and they find out that the cases that they cited are completely irrelevant or don't even exist,
they should know that before.
But how would they know that before?
Because they should do their homework. They're judges.
No, but how would, out of the millions of cases, how would they know what random court
Because
cases.
if somebody is citing a case of precedence and you're a judge, you have to know whether or not they're right before you agree with them.
So what you should do is stop before they cite precedents and go, okay, I need a recess so I can look up these cases.
They have to make sure that they're right.
So
so it's on the judge by going, oh, yeah, I've heard of that one. A ball versus testicles. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think that's what they do. I think it's just they assume that the lawyers are not going to completely be fraudulent and make up facts.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's a disbarment, like immediately, right? Like,
yeah, and it should be a disrobement too for judges. If that's
anyways, so that's been happening.
Disrobement of judges.
So in Star Trek, it feels like someone is using ChatGPT to like look up Star Trek facts, and they all sound like a subspace fold sounds correct. It sounds like something that you would have in Star Trek, right?
It does. No, subspace, fold, warp, wormhole. I mean, just you can put them all together. We talked about this last week. Like, just stick them all together, and they turn out. But you're right. I mean, that's part of the problem with this version of Star Trek. And tell me whether you agree with this or not. But I mean, and I hate the fact that we use everybody is like the CW version of something. But tell me that the relationship building in this show and the way they deal with dialogue and people's emotions doesn't feel like a CW episode for young people. Doesn't it feel that way to you?
It certainly feels juvenile.
Juvenile, that is the right word. The word that No Money G used.
Yeah, it feels juvenile, and it feels like the facts are not quite in order. Everything feels a little bit discombobulated, like a teenager with maybe they have like potential, but they're writing for the first time and don't quite understand like story structure, and maybe they're writing like you know what it's like fan fiction from someone that's competent. It's like competent fan fiction where they don't actually have to follow any rules.
Incompetent fan fiction, yeah.
I mean, it's competent in the sense where there's like a structure there and there's like a beginning and end and all that. Like,
right, but it's incompetent in the or it's
canonically it's incompetent for sure.
Yeah, and also if you were to take a bunch of glasses and stick them under the eyes of all the characters for the season, right, and collect all the tears of every one of these characters, Spock's glass would have 3 times as many tears in his glass as any of the other characters. Why is the most unemotional character in a TV show? Why has he cried the most tears?
He has cried a lot. That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Even this episode, there's like 3 different scenes where he's like tearing up.
That's true.
And it just makes me want to drive an ice pick into my freaking brain.
It's true. I never actually thought about that, but I think he cries the most.
He does. Go back. I mean, listen, I've done it. Go back and look at all the episodes. More tears. Mbenga's got some tears. Chapel's got some tears. Pike's got a tear or 2 from this episode. They're all there. The problem is that he's got like a jar of them. And why does your Vulcan, why is he crying the most? You need to ask yourself this question before you go into season 3. It ruins, no matter how you look at Star Trek. And I apologize to everybody who loves this. If you like the show, that's great. I understand. I cannot get past what Spock's going through. It's just not working for me as a Star Trek fan.
Right.
And it's holding up everything else as well, even if it is an alternate universe or alternate timeline.
Yeah. And I get people say that like, well, so in the cage, he was emotional.
There are some couple of small moments in TOS where he was. You can count them all probably on one hand. In all of the episodes, in all of the movies, in all the hours of Star Trek Spock's been in, you can count it on one hand. But this entire season has been a flood of Spock's crybabiness.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, it's just not accurate to the character. And I understand it's more interesting to have a character who's emotionally compromised that's not supposed to be.
Right.
But are you being fair to the character? Are you right in what you're doing? And are you destroying a character that has a 50-year plus history?
Yeah, and fair. Just because the cage had some moments where he was emotional, and just because there's a few moments throughout TOS was emotional, doesn't mean that every episode this guy should be leaning on his emotions and his feelings. Not that he doesn't have emotions, but Vulcans are taught, because their emotions are so strong, to to control their emotions. And I get what Shane's saying. I do believe that because the alternate history, because it's an altered universe, and he grew up with Miss I Cry Too Much Michael Burnham. I think he was just taught by this incredibly emotional, aggressively emotional female. That is the way to act, and she was older than him. And I bet you that in this altered timeline, that had an effect on Spock.
I guess if you want to give him a reason for it, I would just like to say I think it's all utter bullshit. I don't want to come up with a reason for him to be this way because I can't accept this. Even if there is a good reason for Spock to be this way, I just don't like it. And it makes it unable for me to enjoy it. So I need at least, listen, if you're going to put your bearings, if you're going to set your course on one character in Star Trek, you set it on Spock. Okay. If you're Star Trek, you set your pivot place, your stone, your foundation begins with Spock.
Right.
It's the one character you can't screw up because he is the reason why a lot of us like Star Trek. I mean, his interesting character was the reason people fell in love with it. Do you know how many, space science fiction TV shows there were in the 50s and 60s and 70s? Like one of the things about Star Trek that makes it interesting is Spock.
Right.
And so, there was a reason none of those other shows survived. There just wasn't enough of an interesting, character identification and all of these different things. And Spock has been that character for us. So to take him now into mold him into this completely other different character, I think it just ruins it for me. So
no, I'm with you 100%. I'm with you. Oh, we got a super chat from Christopher Mays. Guys, I'm at work and can't watch today, but thinking about you both. Keep up the fight. I'll catch the rewatch tonight. Oh, Chris, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
If you guys don't know who Christopher Mays is, okay,
one of our Discord strong men.
That's Chris. I love this man.
I hear that our Shane 3 AI likes to make up stories about Chris. So if you guys want to see those stories, go into Discord. Become a member. You can play with Shane 3 all you want to.
Yes, thank you, Chris. By the way, man, you're an amazing dude. Chris has been supporting us for a long time. Very, very appreciative, my friend. Okay, so real quick, I do want to touch on Discord before we go to the member section.
I got a couple of in the news channel. Also, there's a couple of tweets I'd like us to go over.
Okay, so real quick, I want to address and we'll do that. So we'll address the member Discord, those tweets, and then we'll go in member section.
Okay.
So if you guys don't know, this is our Discord. Okay, it's a beautiful Discord, full of scum and villainy. Welcome to the Popcast. It's an amazing Discord. You can get there by going to discord.io/Popcast. There are links in the description. There has been links in chat. You will be able to find it. If you want to find it, you'll find it. We also have great competitions going on, prizes and whatnot. In fact, most recently, we gave away a Bluetooth speaker with our faces on it, which I thought was cool. And the first person to get level 10 had that prize.
Shout out to Archmage Frey.
Archmage Frey. Now, I want to announce now that we've surpassed level 10.
Ooh.
Okay? How do you feel about this, Shane? About a level 30 steelbook set.
Oh, well, what's the steelbook set of?
Do you guys know what steelbooks are?
Yes.
Okay. Only the best way you can store physical media.
All right.
I currently have both Star Wars, Stargate, and Star Trek steelbooks.
Whoa.
Yep. And I am willing to part with them. Not all of them at the same time.
I was going to say, whoa, you're going to give away all three?
No. You will get to pick whatever star you want. And I will send you, whoever is the first person to level 25 will get their pick of either Star Wars, Star Trek, or Stargate steelbooks. And I have them. I'm willing to part with them because they're beautiful. And I think you'll love them. So that's the new competition for Discord. If you're in Discord, getting to level 25 is easy. All you have to do is communicate in Discord. You share pictures and videos, or you talk. And as you communicate, you get levels. It's that simple. And yeah, that's that simple. Like here's my level. I'm level I'm level 4. I clearly do not talk enough. I'm way behind. But come on down to Discord.
Okay, so yeah,
someone just posted this.
You know what's funny is that is like the meme that goes on there now. Like, what's happening? So that was after the episode with Mr. Reagan.
Oh yeah, that was one of those episodes where the whole time I was worried about us getting demonetized. Little did I know that what actually got us demonetized would just be me talking by myself. Apparently,
yeah, they're clipping the heck out of you. But yeah, so the best way you can go to Discord's of course free, but you can also come over and be a member, and then that'll give you better access to our AI, which is kind of a better AI than ChatGPT. It's a little more. It's had some time to like self-learn longer, so you're gonna get a little better information from him.
Yes, sir. Okay. So now let's talk about these articles. Please join us in Discord. It's a good time. If you use Discord, please join Discord.
Yeah, coming out.
Yeah, you know what? I should pin this link too, real quick. Okay.
Yeah, and we should. Yeah, definitely. And thank you to Joe Cronin Show for saying to pin the Streamlabs. We always forget. We're our own worst enemy. We're terrible at these kind of things.
Yeah,
but we'll try to pin that at the top so you guys can.
We're pretty bad at we're bad at YouTube.
We're bad at it's self-promoting.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, let me pin it real quick. I guess any mod can pin it, right? Or maybe not. I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't. You pinned it. Good job.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it, man. What would we do without you? Okay.
We do need to give some people access to like create maybe like
I think like, mods can pin.
Mods can pin, and also can they do like polls?
I think so. I don't know.
Okay,
I'll look into it.
Yeah. So we'll have to go into Discord this week and like talk a little bit about maybe what wrenches can do during the show. If we come up with some like fun topic where it can poll, maybe you guys can stick a poll up there for people to do. Just kind of keep it interesting in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at let's check out these tweets that you were mentioning. Is RMB's tweet in here, by the way?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
We could talk about that too. I mean, listen, there's so many interesting things going on out there. So I'm down.
So this is on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. I don't care. I'm going to call it Twitter. This is from Nerdrotic Gary.
This was great.
He goes, he laughs and he says, and he's quoting, Justin and I wrote a Star Wars movie together, and picketing Disney is a lot more fun than writing a Star Wars movie. Multi-millionaire pal, Jar Jar Abrams, Lindelof.
Yeah, so Damon Lindelof. So that's Damon Lindelof there. If you want to play it, you can play the audio.
Can I?
And Justin and I wrote a Star Wars movie together.
Yeah, we did.
Picketing Disney is more fun.
Oh, it's a delight.
We'll say that.
Strike the Empire back, baby.
Strike the Empire back, baby.
There is no loyalty when you're on a picket line. And you know what's interesting about the strike is you might actually hear more, from a lot of these people, you're going to hear what they really think. Because when you're working for a studio or you're towing the company line, and I know this from being in the Navy, like you were not allowed to in any way, represent the Navy in any other way than it wanted to be represented. And there are times when you're saying things that you don't really believe because you don't have a choice. That's your job. And that's what these guys, the kind of life that they live under. If they want to continue working, they have to bend the knee. But guess what? When you're on the picket line, you don't have to. And if you're saying it's more fun to be on the picket line to write a Star Wars thing, then what does that tell you about the people behind the scenes and how they really feel about creating Star Wars content today?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, good point. Okay. I also want to pull up that other one too. Hold up.
Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate the DC one that we got there as well.
Yeah, I actually have some stuff to say about that too. I'm okay, we'll get to that. Before the DC thing, just because we're talking about Star Trek right now. or Star Wars or whatever. It doesn't matter. There was an
All the
arm.
same thing.
Robert Meyer Burnett tweeted something, and I'm trying to find it.
I was surprised that Robert kind of liked the musical episode.
Well, you know, Rob.
I was just kind of surprised that he. I mean, I know he does like the well-rounded versions of things, but
yeah,
holy cow, we were on opposite sides of that one.
We know Rob. I figured he will at least appreciate the unique value that because
probably that's what it is because he still kept dumping on the show, but
right. So Robert Meyer Burnett tweeted, "I don't think the season 2 finale of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds is going to be held up as a shining example as to why the AMPTP needs to sit down with a negotiating committee of the WGA anytime soon."
Well, there you go. He said, obviously, it didn't live up to the expectations. So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, it just wasn't good.
Good point there, Rob. And here's the last one. Here's the last tweet. This is from Blue. So Blue Beetle comes out actually in a few days. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that people are honestly, okay, I know I've been a DC apologist. And you know what? F it, I'm going to keep being an apologist because I'll tell you this right now. First off, I liked Black Adam. I enjoyed Shazam 2, and I liked The Flash. Damn you. You don't have to like it. I did.
Well, you're the only one.
And I'll tell you this. Wait a minute, Shane. Don't interrupt me with this.
I'm not. Go ahead.
Blue Beetle, people are sleeping on this. First off, it was forecasted at like a $12 million opening,
that's pretty low.
It's low.
That's really low.
Well, and then about a week ago, this is 2 months ago, it was upgraded to a $30 million opening.
That's better.
Which is over double what its initial opening prediction was. This is what you're sleeping on. This is the first ever, like, truly Hispanic superhero set in their culture, in that Latina, whatever, Latin American community. Here's the deal. I got a text on my phone from a friend of mine. I'm not going to say his last name, but his first name is, wait for it, Jaime. And he's like, "Hey bro, you hear about this movie yet? You want to go double date, watch it?" And I swear I thought he was going to send me like Sound of Freedom or something like that, and he sent me a trailer for Blue Beetle.
Well, according to 2020 census data, there's 62 million Hispanic people living in the United States, which represents about 19% of the total U.S. population. So domestically, anyways, you're probably going to see, I don't know if this is going to be a big worldwide number, but it probably could have a good domestic. The other thing is, Brian, is that people, because of Barbenheimer, have got a little bit more of an appetite to go see movies. Somehow those movies kicked in an overdrive of people to want to go back to the movies a little more. And I think what you're going to see, because there's nothing else playing right now, right? There's nothing else. And there's been a little bit of a delay. So people who went to see Barbie and Oppenheimer, that happened a couple weeks ago. So what's going to happen is people are going to be like, "Hey, what do you want to do this week?" And they're like, "I don't know. We should go do that movie thing again. Remember we went to the movies? That was kind of fun."
Right.
And they're going to see what's playing and they're going to be like, "Oh, Blue Beetle." And I think it's going to do better numbers domestically than anybody thought. I think it's even going to crush the 30 million.
See, I think so too. I think that's going to crush. So can you look up, while I'm saying my next statement, can you look up the exact same stat, but for African-American communities? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what people are sleeping on. Black Panther was a movie that, yes, it was coming off the Marvel hype, but it did way better than people expected it to do because it was a cultural moment. It was a cultural phenomenon. Now, whether you like it or not, I personally didn't like any of the Black Panther films, even though I liked the main character that is the actual Black Panther. And I liked his character in Civil War. The movies themselves, like, to me, were just silly. I didn't like them. I thought the CGI battle at the end with the two Black Panthers was stupid. I think the villain was really stupid. Like, he's this MIT graduate, but he's holding a gun like he's walking the streets of Compton. It makes no sense.
14% is your number.
So 14%. So Now, you have a cultural phenomenon in Black Panther where most African American people went out to watch this movie and applauded it as this cultural moment. 14% Latin America, 19%. Okay, this can be a similar situation where not only DC fans, but you have a cultural moment with the Latin American community that go watch this movie.
I think you got one problem with this. The fact that T'Challa or Chad Boseman, he was, kind of like Iron Man. Like when they showed him in the Avengers movie, right? He was like, whoa, and he really played Black Panther well. And you had this commanding element to him that almost reminded you of like a Robert Downey Jr., almost that version. But the problem is this Blue Beetle character is a kid.
Right.
And there's going to be an element of not strength. So a lot of the people who are going to go out and see it would like show up for like, a badass version of a Latino character as a superhero, but this is like a wimpy kid. And so this is almost as if they had shown him maybe in another movie and it had been a powerful character. I think you'd have like this huge moment, maybe like Black Panther, but I think you're going to get that depressed thing because people are like, yeah, some dumbass kids. And I really do think that there's going to be that attitude.
I got to say, you're exactly right, I think, because Marvel, and here's what drives me nuts about DC. I like DC more than I like Marvel. I always have. And it drives me nuts that Marvel Phase 1 and 2 are sitting there as a goddamn template for exactly what to do. I'm not saying you follow the storyline, but there's the template there. You find your character everyone likes, a.k.a. Superman Henry Cavill. Every person, regardless of their taste, all agree Superman Henry Cavill is their guy.
Yeah.
Just like everyone agreed Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr. were their guy. All right, You have your base. You've set it up. You got your base. Yep. Now, all you have to do is do the exact same thing Marvel did.
I know.
You introduce the character slowly. And after like 3 or 4 movies, start introducing some of the sub-characters as cameos. Like you introduced Black Panther in Civil War.
The problem is Warner Brothers didn't have the patience. See, Disney has, this is the problem. Disney has all these revenue streams of money. They did not feel, even though they actually did, Disney screwed up Star Wars, but they didn't feel compelled to rush Marvel because they already have all this money coming in. And Warner Brothers needed Superman to pan out. Like they need success because all they have is that franchise. So they could not take the slow road, even though that was the correct road. They just couldn't afford to do it. And they didn't have the balls to do it.
And they had really bad leadership at the time too. Like they didn't know, no one knew who was in charge. And then Zack Snyder's kid tragically committed suicide. And so he had to like leave the project for like a year and no one can wait for him. And this guy was like, this was like their Kevin Feige and he had set everything up. And anyways, that's history. Bottom line is though, had they they could have introduced Blue Beetle in The Flash or Black Adam or Shazam.
You're right.
And
they didn't.
And it would have been more impactful now having a Blue Beetle coming up.
So what James Gunn has to do is completely start over.
Well, no, James Gunn,
over the correct
he
way.
said the first character in his DCU is Blue Beetle. Is literally the Spider-Man, Iron Man character. Which, by the way, people think that Blue Beetle ripped off Iron Spider, like the Spider-Man who with the Iron Man tech, but it's actually the other way around. So there was already a Spider-Man, and when the Blue Beetle character started doing well, if I remember correctly, they all of a sudden they introduced very similar technology into Iron Man, into a Spider-Man suit, and they created the Iron Spider character. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it went. I don't know. I think I'll tell you this. If the movie is good, I think that Latin America is going to come out.
I think it needs to be good. Now, they have a couple good things going for them, and that's that the main character actor, who is the kid, is a good actor.
Oh, yeah. He's in that Karate Kid thing, right?
He's in Cobra Kai. And what's interesting about Cobra Kai, and I don't know how many of you are watching it, but of course, getting back Ralph Macchio and all the main characters from Karate Kid was the reason to watch Cobra Kai. But as you watch Cobra Kai over the seasons, you realize that this kid who's going to be in Blue Beetle is kind of one of the reasons you're watching the show as it goes into multiple seasons. Like he's a draw to that show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that bodes well for him to be in this movie and to play this character. Now, the real question is how much of Blue Beetle will it be about the suit and how much of it will be about the character? And that's the one thing about superheroes. Like, he'll need to come into his own in some sort of powerful way for him to work going across the universe in the future. It can't be the suit. It's got to be this really great combination of the two. What other superheroes do we have that have this sort of dynamic where the suit or the technology is more powerful than the person inside of it? You've got what? Green Lantern,
Iron Man.
Iron Man's not. No, Iron Man controls his suit.
That's true. So Green Lantern technically controls his crap too.
Okay, so what
it might be sentient, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't.
So maybe Venom.
Oh, Venom. Yeah, okay, Venom,
Okay.
the parasite. Yeah, he's sort of a parasite.
So and Venom was very successful, and of course, Venom has a really great actor, and it's in the Spider-Man universe. So I think the success of this movie, and it's got a big hill to climb because superhero movies are not doing well right now.
No.
It's going to have a lot of heart. The relationship between the actor and the technology in the suit is going to need to be handled very carefully. Like if there is some sort of like heartfelt moment where the two come together to become this like true superhero, if they can pull that off, then they might have something. But if they can't pull off that moment where they become this like somebody that we can really look up to and kind of personify and want to enjoy in future movies, then it's going to be a one and done.
Right, I agree. So that's it with Blue Beetle. Let us know in the comment section if you're watching this after the fact if you're going to go watch Blue Beetle next week. I will be. At some point, I'll do more stuff on the DC channel, but I don't have time for that right now.
And so, speaking of Blue Beetle, and this is maybe not a good sign, maybe a bit of a problem.
Right.
And this is I know we just said some positives. Now let's show a negative. And this tweet by Gary at Nerdrotics as well, who we saw. Actually, it came from Bounding into Comics originally.
Right.
I can't read it, Brian.
He says, Blue Beetle director says DC villain Bane represents the unknown or forgotten or brushed under the rug history of interventionism in Latin America and the Caribbean.
Okay.
I love how Grano's like, well, that's a lot of horse shit.
Well, so now the person added, now this Aaron Sparrow, go ahead and say what. So that was the original comment.
Right.
Now, what did Aaron Sparrow say?
If it's all the same to Soto, I think I'll trust the creators of the character Dixon verse and J.G. Nolan to tell me what Bane represents. I mean, sure, yeah.
So this response is from Graham Nolan. So he added Graham Nolan, who's one of the creators of the character.
Right.
And what does the creator of the character say?
Well, that's a lot of horse shit.
So that's a lot of horse shit. So the director of Blue Beetle is saying this is what, and now granted, Bane isn't a character in this movie. I hope not.
No, Bane's not in the movie.
So he's just, this is like his thought process on Bane. And now interventionism is a political practice of intervention, particularly to the practice of governments to interfere in political affairs of other countries. So basically what they're saying is that Bane interfered with Latin. I don't know. It sounds to me like some sort of political statement.
No, yeah, it's like the same as saying like when they called all the white people colonizer in Black Panther. It's that same concept,
right? So what does this now? The bad news is what is this director? What is his political messaging in this movie? If he feels strongly about this sort of thing, then he's obviously seeing the DC characters differently than the creators have intended them to. And anytime that happens in these movies, it makes for bad superhero movies. Anytime they interpret the characters different than the creator, we all go, well, that's bullshit. So let's hope that this director didn't, change Blue Beetle in a way that people who or recognize the character. And now a good thing for Blue Beetle is most people don't know who the hell he is. So maybe it won't be that impactful except for a small group of comic fans.
Yeah, I think maybe he's just spending too much time with these actors who are stupid.
Who?
He's spending too much time with like George Lopez, and like
You're talking about the director?
Yeah, he's spending a lot of time with these dumb actors who don't know what they're talking about.
Well, I wouldn't blame the actors for the way directors feel. The directors are just as evilly in there with the. I'm sorry, the directors are just as Hollywood based as the actors are.
No,
so you can't just say actors.
I feel like actors have a lot more like.
Actors feel more compelled to say whatever the hell they want.
Yes,
that's the difference.
Yes,
directors all have their opinions. They all want to work, But saying something like this, like that kind of tweet, that's going to do nothing but get you cred in Hollywood, right?
I guess.
What do you mean you guess? Either yes or no. It is a, hey, listen, white people are bad and they go in and do bad things to foreign countries. Hey, liberal points. Woo. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it works, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much the going consensus. Got men bad, girls good, et cetera, white people especially.
Right. I mean, there's a few things you can say that just kind of work with everybody. Before we go into the member section, I wanted to quickly talk about Apple TV. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, I guess we're running. If you have a hard out, we're running a little bit late. What's Apple TV about?
We're running late.
As in, if you have a hard out, we got to go pretty soon.
4:30 is my hard out, though.
Oh, I think you said 3:30.
No, I said 4:30.
Oh, 4:30? Oh, we got plenty of time. Go for it.
Talk about proof that Brian doesn't listen to me. So there we go.
You said 3:30.
No, come on now.
Is it 4:30 for sure?
It's 4:30. Yes.
Oh, good. I want to talk about the Robert Beltran stuff too.
In all fairness, you said we were in the middle of doing a bunch of stuff when I told you. So.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I go. You got plenty of time because I thought we were gonna have to rush in the member section.
No. We got time.
And I was like, we're gonna miss out on the Robert Beltran stuff.
No, let's do Robert Beltran now. We'll talk Apple TV after.
Okay. So Robert Beltran was twending. Robert Beltran was twending.
It's exciting. That's Chakotay from Voyager. Why was he trending, Shane? Because he went to Star Trek Las Vegas.
Right. Look at all these elite memes from the left-wing Twitter mafia.
Oh my god.
It's so dumb. Like, I got
real Star Trek fans. Are you fucking kidding me?
Is that what that says on there? Stupid.
Real Star
All
Trek
of you
fans.
are so incredibly stupid.
Who wrote this? Who's name?
I mean, the people.
Slayer Santiago. Shame on you.
The people criticizing Robert Beltran for going to a Star Trek convention and talking about Star Trek, and you have a problem with that, you have to be mentally challenged.
That 50 other Star Trek legacy people are also at.
Get out of here.
They didn't mention him.
Yeah. Only mention the one conservative dude. I mean, dude, they had Frakes and Metellus had an entire panel where they talked about potential Star Trek legacy.
I know, right? Which, by the way, we love those guys.
Yeah, we love them too.
And we think that they should be able to talk about those things.
No one's criticizing them, but everyone's going to criticize this dude for talking about old Star Trek episodes.
Right, because he doesn't line up. I really hate that.
I hate
bullies, man. I hate bullies. And these guys are bullies.
Robert Beltran is just mad that Seven jumped Chakotay to get a girlfriend.
Well, I'd be kind of mad about that too.
This is so dumb. It's so absolutely dumb. Robert Beltran is breaking strike rules at STLV, so please allow me to highlight his best work on Star Trek Voyager, and it shows Chakotay's grave. Well, let me tell you something, Stanley. Fuck you. Well, honestly, wait. I'm sorry. Let me talk real quick, Shane. Hey, Stanley, only Stan 85. Fuck you. You're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot. You have no fucking idea what you're talking about. You're a fucking mentally challenged tard to think that Robert Beltran is breaking rules by talking about old Star Trek at a Star Trek convention, you idiot.
Your comments here make me realize that perhaps not being monetized does change the way you say things.
Jesus Christ. This guy is so stupid. He's not breaking any rules by talking about old stuff. It's promoting new stuff is the problem.
Here's the sad thing about it. This Stanley guy, okay? Here's the sad thing about it is that if you take 1 second to think about, not only is Robert Beltran at Star Trek Las Vegas, what did he say? He's breaking strike rules. It started. So were 50, 75 other people. Now, the fact that you single this guy out just shows, what your agenda is. You have an agenda here. And anybody who has an agenda, I believe they are the true enemies of our society.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know being selfish is an agenda that we can all recognize, but that is an ideological agenda, and he's trying to gaslight people. The reality of the truth is that Robert Beltran was there, just like tons of other Star Trek actors who, by the way, this is how they make their living now.
Yes.
They're not being invited to be in new Star Trek unless you're TNG, or maybe a couple Voyager people. Everybody else has to sign autographs.
Yeah.
So what you're doing here is wrong. And this is part of the problem and when you put a little rainbow next to your name.
Oh yeah. Oh, the
rainbow.
rainbow.
When you put a little rainbow next to your name, the problem is
say whatever you want. Say whatever you want, you idiot.
Well, that's not what I was going to say. But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You out your group. Now you've given a target to an organization, and now this is the way your group think is.
Right.
And so the problem is that now the people who disagree cannot identify with you. You've just, spoken for an entire group of people, and this is the problem. You got to stop doing that.
I'll have this. I hope you're doing okay after the absolute sickening abuse you're getting online. These are not Star Trek fans. These are weirdos with flags and pronouns in their bios. Real fans have your back. And he's like, real Star Trek fans are fantastic. Very true. Thank you, sir. I'm like, who are the real Star Trek fans exactly? Oh my God. Fuck you.
It's funny.
Just fuck all of you pieces of shit.
Listen, you can be listen to me. You can be a proud queer person.
Whatever, yes.
And not be an incredible douchebag.
Yeah, don't be an incredible fucking asshole.
So be a proud queer person, be a Star Trek fan, but don't be a douche, because this is douchebaggery.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like just because of your pronouns and your bios and your echo chambers, you can be a complete and fucking asshole to everyone around you. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah. There you go.
And you know what? I can say that I'm non-binary too. And you know what? There's no way for you to prove I'm not.
I don't even know what the hell you're
There's
talking
no way
about.
for you to prove I'm not non-binary, you piece of shit.
Except you always tell the truth.
Yeah, I'm non-binary.
All right. Well,
yeah? Prove me wrong. Fucking, that's my trap card, bitch. You can't. You can't prove me wrong. Trap card. Sorry.
I don't know what that means.
That means that no matter what you do, I win. Because if you try to question my non-binary status, you're a insert something phobe here.
But see, that's what they're doing. You see, you can't be like them.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Trap card. I can say whatever I want.
No, you can say whatever you want anyways, because that's what America is all
I
about.
agree with you, Shane. I'm just using their own
I
their
know.
own logic.
I'm just saying
them.
you don't have. I understand. No, you cannot use their own logic because it is not logic. It's insanity.
By the way, on the stage is also Garrett Wang and Tim Russ.
Yeah.
Why is he being focused?
Well, we know why he is. You just spilled it all.
I know, but why isn't anyone questioning that fact? Is this just giant group thing going on? No one else is questioning the fact that he's sitting next to two other Star Trek actors?
Because nobody's going to go against their own group, even if they're wrong. That's what we talked about earlier. You need to say, if more people just said the truth the way it is supposed to be said all the time and not worried about what your group is going to think about you, then we'd all be better off for it.
So dumb. This whole thing is dumb. This whole thing is very, very dumb. And now I'm angry. So I need a minute.
All right. Well, we give Brian a minute here. Let's talk a little bit about, did you have any other Star Trek stuff you want to talk about?
No. Fuck Star Trek.
Well,
fuck Star Trek. Fuck Star Trek.
To get Brian to this place is pretty good. He's like a non-cussing kind of guy usually.
I'm so mad right now. I'm scanning through this fucking page. These people are so delusional. It's insane.
I mean, you can be mad, but are you surprised?
No, I mean, I'm a little surprised that there's no goddamn pushback against this whatsoever. I mean, I expected one tweet to push back against this insane lunacy. Just one? Can I get one person? Jesus. Robert Beltran's a scab. Fuck you, you fucking idiot. They're going to pull his card, and then he's not going to be able to go to these conventions. You know that, right?
They're not going to pull his card, because if they pull his card, then they got to pull the card of everybody else that was there.
No, I hope they. Yeah.
Because in the bottom line,
I hope you're right, but who knows?
Well, Twitter. Listen, you got to calm down. Twitter is not real life. First off, let's just be clear here. There's a lot of idiots just saying whatever the hell they want because they're sitting behind their computer and nobody can punch them in the face. Okay, so it's very simple.
That's very true.
Right. So in the end, reasonably, all Robert Beltran's going to be is like, oh, okay, well, I guess Tim Russ doesn't get to do it either. And they'll be like, oh. And of course, we know Tim Russ is way on the other side. So here's the deal. As soon as you say that, it's like, oh, okay, I guess you can come back. I mean, there's really nothing that you do about it. So I appreciate
God, these people can't meme for shit.
Yeah, it's frustrating. But it's also not real. So don't let it affect you as a human being.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Don't
let it change you.
You're right.
I'm sure everybody enjoyed watching you melt down.
Michelle Hurd also going up there.
Well, you started it now. Now you got to finish it.
Because dude, STLV is so horrible nowadays. You guys don't quite understand something. I was going to Star Trek Las Vegas before it became this insane bed of trash people complaining about everything that doesn't matter with pronouns in their bios. This was not the way it was. I used to go there when it was a bunch of fans and we dressed up as crazy stuff. We walked the promenade. It wasn't a meat market for dollar store gadgets and phone cases. It was Star Trek.
It was fun.
It was fun, and it felt like Star Trek, and you felt loved by everyone. It was a really good time. And I went back like 8 years later, 3 years ago. I was 3 or 4 years ago. I forgot. I went there with the camera to film for the Popcast. We had just gotten back on YouTube, and remember me calling you and being like, I don't know what the F's going on here.
You did, yeah.
But there's like a bunch of Star Trek Discovery people here, and it's garbage. Like it's just this giant
fan base changed.
The entire fan base is completely different. Yeah. Actors are up there talking about politics and stuff.
Right.
Like they wouldn't shut the fuck up. They're on stage complaining about Trump like 3 years after Trump is even in office. It's this whole thing, nonstop politics. The Promenade is a giant meat market where they're selling posters of like Star Wars characters and stuff. It wasn't even Star Trek anymore.
Well, it's not a Star Trek convention, honestly.
Right. And I'm like, this place is garbage.
Because Star Trek pulled out. So.
And then the following year, it got worse. Well, at the time, Star Trek not pulled out. At that first time, Star Trek was still in it. It was still called Star Trek.
It must have been the next year.
The following year is when they called it the 50-year mission because
when we had to be COVID tested,
right, because Paramount was like, nah, dog, we're gonna do our own convention, but then we're not actually gonna do it.
But then they didn't do it.
We're gonna pull your license because we're planning on doing our own thing, but then we're not actually gonna have a convention. And that was equally as bad. And now I didn't go this year, but I'm sitting here watching all the coverage, and I'm like, what is this? What is this convention? It just seems like let's have I can't say it.
Well, it's better this year than it's been because all the people who were striking had nothing really to do, so they went to STLV.
Right. They're right. And they talked
we had more Star Trek actors here than normal.
And they talked about a bunch of like I can't
just say it.
They didn't. It was their personal politics once again on display, but they wrap it in Star Trek, which gaslights Star Trek and makes Star Trek look like something it's not.
Yeah.
So let's all go to STLV and display our crazy, insane personal politics for the whole world. Anti this, pro that. But then let's wrap it in Star Trek because we are the authority on Star Trek now because we had a part in this one season of Discovery. And we're going to talk about how our personal politics are what Star Trek really means. And if you have a problem with that, you're a bigot. And that's pretty much the entire STLV, except for a couple panels.
You're right. Star Trek is really about queer people and it's always been about, and this is the gaslighting part of it. That essentially, it's always been about that. IDIC is the only thing Star Trek has ever been about, and this is what's been embraced by Star Trek. And that's honestly, IDIC is just a small part of
IDIC, except for Robert Beltran. Infinite diversity and infinite cultures, except for Robert Beltran.
Well, they're not. It's politics, though. It's not diversity.
Right. So it's not. So IDIC doesn't actually stand for what you don't actually believe in it. Then
IDIC doesn't count for political
dissidents,
biases. Like, so if you're biased against one political side, it doesn't count. So anybody who is in the camp of conservatism is the enemy for Hollywood, and they're going to be treated as such in every way. I mean, think about any conservative actor who actually acknowledges themselves as being conservative. You know, Jerry Ryan used to be conservative, but you know, she's kind of pulled back off of that because if she were to be conservative while doing Star Trek, they would just get rid of her.
Right.
She wouldn't have a voice. So
that's true. That's true. I just like hate this so much.
It's sad and it's terrible. And you know what? It could be, and this is the saddest part about it all. This could be the passing of an era. All things change, all things grow old. And the saddest part about the whole thing is that it may never again be what it was. And it may just grow past us, I guess, or change outside of us. And there is zero things we can do about it other than voice our opinions. And it's a sad thing because I think that the majority of the Star Trek fan base is representative of people like us who love Star Trek going back 50 plus years and kind of identify it. I don't think that the new Star Trek fan base is the bulk of Star Trek fandom. And, but unfortunately we're the least vocal of the Star Trek fandoms.
Yeah. And that's the problem. The bulk of the Star Trek fandom is people like us. However, we also have jobs and families and responsibilities, and we don't have time to sit there and complain all day on the internet. So we are not the loud. We are the softest spoken, right. And so they have this small percentage of these loud individual wearing disco shirts, who with giant bullhorns, and no one wants to refute their ridiculous asinine points because they don't also want to be labeled as a Robert Beltran. And I'm using his name as a verb now.
Yeah, no, you're right though. I mean, you're 100% right. Nobody wants to, they're like, oh, do I really want to get in this shitstorm? You know, because right. I mean, the reality is you're not going to change anybody's mind anyways. That's why a lot of people don't speak up because they're like, well, I mean, I'm going to say it. It's like screaming into the wind. Like they're never going to change their mind. How many times have you responded to somebody with like reason and like kindness and you get nothing but stupidity back? I mean, it's just constant.
Yeah. All right. Well, enough with that.
All right. Do you feel like you feel better now?
No.
Not really?
I feel worse.
You feel worse.
I somehow feel worse.
Do you feel like you've been black-pilled, sir?
How did we get here? How did we get to this place? It might be also that I'm working on that Barbie video and
a little bit of truth in that Barbie video, isn't there?
Dude, it is.
A little bit of truth, ain't it? Scary truth, huh?
I just hate everything right now. And,
well, that was not the intention.
And let me explain what I'm talking about. When I say everything, I'm referring to like all pop culture. It's almost, it all has some problem. We just displayed all of Star Trek's problems. Let's talk about Star Wars. Star Wars has less of the problems in reference to Star Trek being hijacked by like this small group of, activists. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Star Wars is another problem, but Star Wars is also just sort of bad. Like everything's sort of boring and miscast and mismanaged and nothing works. Creatively.
Yeah, Star Trek doesn't have an ideology that they can hijack. That's the difference. Like the IDIC thing can be hijacked by a group, but Star Wars doesn't have.
Well, they tried to like the Force is female, and no one bought that shit for a minute.
What? Yeah.
And then you look at other things look at Quantum Leap, which I wasn't even a massive fan of Quantum Leap, but in preparation for the return of Quantum Leap, because Shane was a fan, I watched all the Quantum Leap stuff because we were making our Quantum Leap videos. And I slowly became a fan of this franchise, and then I got really excited for Quantum Leap to come back. And then we read the cast sheet, and we're like, oh no, okay, so they've just they're doing the same thing. And then it was okay for a while. Then it slowly went off the rails in the second half, and you're like, okay, what's next? Everything pop culture might start off in a place that is good or interesting or introspective or whatever. Insert your positive verb here. But then what happens is it slowly devolves into whatever is the current accepted political narrative. And it drives me nuts because you can see it happening. It's like slow motion train wreck. It's like a slow motion car accident where you can see something that is beautiful and shiny and unique and creatively advanced. You can see it becoming bankrupt before your eyes because no one can accept that political devastation. No one. There isn't a single TV show or movie franchise that won't slowly fall down to mismanagement and political devastation in this day and age. Not a single one.
But I don't know if you're segueing me here, but I think that Apple might be that.
And that was the perfect segue.
There we go. Because
I stopped right there because I thought that'd be a great place to talk about Apple. Speaking of Apple, so Mythic Quest is I'm gonna let Shane. He's gonna speak mostly on this, but I got my taste of Apple with Mythic Quest. I was a big fan of the guy from Always Sunny and that whole crew that writes those episodes, and of course Danny. What's his name? Danny
Putty.
Mm-hmm. I think Danny Putty is a genius, and I don't think everyone realizes that yet. And I really liked the first couple seasons. Apple has this thing where it like slowly takes its foot off the gas, and just like the shows start to just sort of coast on their past until you stop caring about it. And I'm noticing that I've watched a lot of Apple stuff where I really enjoy the first couple of seasons, and I just sort of fall off midway season 3 and just forget it exists.
Well, I didn't know. Are there a lot of shows that have a season 3? Because I know For All Mankind does, but like Ted Lasso has 3, right?
Ted Lasso, Mythic Quest, Let's Get Physical with Rosie Bryan. Loved that show when it first came out, but it got weird toward the end. But I think that regardless of that taking your foot off the gas, I don't think that they're falling prey to the same sort of political, what I was talking about earlier, that political cancer.
Right.
There's still creativity there, even if it's starting to fall. Even if the message or the idea is starting to lose its taste. It's almost like a soda that it slowly gets flat, but it's not becoming infested with ants.
Well, you know what? I think it's weird because Apple has all the elements of like the current political landscape, but it doesn't feel woke and it doesn't feel agenda driven, even though it has the elements in it. It feels like, you know what Apple feels like to me with its shows? It feels like it's doing it just the way you're supposed to do it. Like how you should integrate all of our societal norms into a TV show today. For example, Severance, which is, and by the way, thank you, Brian, for allowing me to utilize your Apple ID to log in. And actually, I've been waiting to watch Apple for like a year and a half because I couldn't log into the damn thing.
Yeah.
So I broke the rule and I borrowed my brother's, which apparently Disney is planning on making sure they get rid of all that opportunity for people to share.
Good luck with that, Disney.
Yeah. So, but Apple, what I find really refreshing and interesting is like Severance. There's only one season of it, but in Severance, which in my opinion, of the 3 Apple shows I've seen, I've watched Severance. I'm in the 2nd season of For All Mankind. I'm in the 2nd season of Ted Lasso. So far, Severance is my favorite of those 3 shows. First, it has a incredibly unique science fiction take, something I've never thought of before. And the idea that, if you decide, hey, I don't want to go to work, or I don't want to experience work. I'm just going to have this, have my brain, something put in my brain that allows me not to remember going to work. So my entire existence is when it's time to go to work, I'm just out of work. And it's kind of an interesting concept because a lot of people don't like to go to work.
Right.
Right. And so, but there's a persona of them that does go to work, but all they do is go to work. So when work ends, they become aware again once work starts again.
Right.
And what that would do to someone's psyche, forget the fact that there's all kinds of, and no spoilers here, forget the fact that there's all kinds of other strange things going on at work, but just imagine if your entire existence was showing up at work and then you leave work, but then the next thing you remember is you're back at work again.
Right.
It would drive anybody freaking crazy.
Right.
So this show is incredibly smart. It's made by Ben Stiller. Yes, the Ben Stiller.
The Ben Stiller.
And it's a fantastic. The first season's fantastic. It's got a cliffhanger. It's got like all kinds of things I don't know. But you know what also has into it? It has an LGBTQ couple. John Turturro, who's not. I don't believe John Turturro is LGBTQ. You need to check that out. Because Turturro, and I know that Christopher Walken isn't gay. Yeah, so John Turturro's not gay, and neither is Christopher Walken, but they play two gay men. Now, what's interesting is like any other show would have had two gay men playing the gay characters. Okay?
Yeah.
Anybody else would have done that because it's almost like you're going to get in trouble socially by having two characters that aren't gay. Why didn't you just have gay people play these characters, right? Isn't that what people usually say?
Right.
So that's one thing Apple's doing differently. Now they're using two amazing actors like John Turturro and Christopher Walken, and it's going to be hard to criticize that because they're probably the most two well-established actors in the show, besides Adam Scott, who plays the main character Mark. But the point of the matter is that they have LGBTQ in their representation, and by the way, it's really well done.
Right.
Like it seems appropriate. It seems like it would be like the way the world should look at LGBTQ people.
Yeah.
And it's lovingly. You care about what's going on. It's wonderful. There's a female boss, a woman boss, but you don't think of her as like a boss girl. She's just like in charge, and there is no doubt that she is in charge, and that's played by Patricia Arquette.
Right.
So Apple's like doing this thing where it's like all the elements of wokeism is there, but yet it doesn't feel woke. And by the way, that's all we've been asking for.
Yeah.
Please do this with your shows.
Focus on the story. Like, don't make it all about like whatever your narrative is.
The story is first, and all this other shit is just window dressing.
Yeah.
So now you move over to a show like Ted Lasso, which has, you can see the modern elements in Ted Lasso, but it does not dominate the story.
Right.
Right. You've got a woman going through a divorce, a man who's basically a giant asshole. That's true. The world's like that. And then you have Ted Lasso, who's a nice guy, and he's going through a divorce for different reasons. And so he's not the bad guy. He's not the idiot. He's not the chump. Right. And they kind of work together to make this whole thing work over time. You have elements of our woke society, but it's not dominating the story. And guess what? It's good. It won awards.
Yeah.
Now you go to For All Mankind. This is where it gets really interesting. This is going to blow your damn mind. For All Mankind is a really interesting show. So without spoilers, the premise is that the Russians beat us to the moon. And by the way, shout out to Kyle Proch for getting me to watch this show, because I really probably wouldn't have sat to watch it if he hadn't said, "Are you going to watch it?" So I finally did. The Russians beat Americans to the moon. They swoop in at the last minute and land before us. And all of a sudden it just like shakes our world and our foundation. And the changing of that in the timeline changes the entire history of the United States. What happens, who politically is, who is elected for politics, who comes to power, what people end up becoming astronauts. So many things change that didn't happen over the course of the next, 40 years, 50 years. That we get to see in this television show. Now the show is kind of slow. in some elements. I mean, there's
Right.
some really cool moon stuff and cool NASA stuff, but it is taken by a lot of drama. And so that can feel a little slow at sometimes, but I'm still enjoying it. But here's the weird thing about it. Like, it is heavily female dominated. Like, after the first season of the show, where kind of the men or the astronauts and everything, well, small spoiler, Russia puts a woman on the moon, and so all of a sudden the United States is like, well, crap, we're not going to let them get away with that. We're going to put a woman on the moon, right?
Right.
And so it kind of changes the whole dynamic of NASA, and it becomes more female dominated. But you know what? It doesn't bother me, because it makes sense to the story. They didn't just make these women girl bosses. They actually earned every step of the way. They had to go through all of and they show them going through the survival and going through all of and earning their shit along the way. So by the time we see them in charge of NASA, in charge of being on the moon, leading missions and stuff, you go, I believe it.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's good.
Yeah.
So, so that's where I'm at. I'm in the middle of season 2 of Ted Lasso. I'm in the middle of season 2 of For All Mankind. I hope they continue to be good. I'm going to wait for season 2 of Severance to come out. I hope it, I don't know what's going to happen with the strike, but I'm already showing 19 episodes here in IMDb, but I don't know if they shot it or not yet. So we'll have to wait to see what happens with that. I'm going to watch Silo next. And I am just so encouraged by what Apple is doing. And maybe Apple can do it because it is the biggest business in the world. It's $1 trillion market cap company. Nobody is going to mess with Apple. And maybe that's the point. So whoever's leading over at Apple, I got to tell you, I've never been a fan of Apple. I don't like their products.
Yeah, me either.
It's just never been for me. But I got to tell you, Apple is sending a message, and that is like, you can do streaming right. You can do it good for society, proper for the culture, and this is how you do it. So I pray to God they buy Disney. I pray to God they buy. There's rumors that maybe they might buy Disney.
There's no
I don't
way
know
that
if it's going to happen.
There's no way.
I don't know. I don't know. See it happening, but at least they can be like a marker. So Apple, make it easier to log into your stuff. Get your stuff out there to more people. You need to be a truly competitive streaming service because your shows are good. And unfortunately, just not enough people can have access to you right now. So that's
I don't think the majority of their money for those shows actually come from their streaming service. I think it comes from people buying it on iTunes.
It might, yeah, you're right. That might be the case. All I know is it's the most difficult of all the streaming services to get,
right?
And it's by far right now the only streaming service I want to watch. I'm thinking of actually pausing all of my subscriptions because I don't see myself leaving Apple for any reason in the near future. So
interesting.
Yeah.
You will run out of things to watch. Apple has the least amount of content. Now,
that's the good thing about me. It takes me so long to watch content. I might
actually be fair,
pace with them.
If you had Apple and Peacock, you could save a ton of money. You have all the old stuff you've wanted for that $6 and all the new stuff.
Paramount.
Huh?
I have to have Paramount. It's got all my Star Trek.
Oh, that's true.
I can't.
I don't know why you and I don't just share logins.
Yeah, we probably should.
Especially now that we now that you're gonna, like, before I didn't want to do it because your watch things messed up my watch things.
Yeah.
But now you can have profiles.
That's true. Yeah.
We should just share our streaming services, bro.
Yeah, especially since we're demonetized. So
we need to save the money.
Hope you're not listening, streaming services. Thank you.
Michael Nemo, who cares? I don't care. Michael Nemo said, Michael Nemo for $3. Thank you, Michael Nemo. This is in streamlabs.com/the Popcast Lab. That's the only place we can get monetized now. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but Jaime Reyes is 16 when he gets the powers. Zolo from Cobra Kai is 22. He's not pulling off the high school face anymore, in my opinion. Also, El Dorado is the first Latina. Don't say Latinx. He said Latinx. Latino DC superhero from 1981. Yeah. When I say first, I'm talking about first to screen, not to comics. But I agree with you. Also from Michael Nemo, in my opinion, Star Trek fandom embraced the idea that we all get along in 300 years, regardless of left or right or pronouns.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah, that's not what people want you to believe, but yes.
But that's what Star Trek should be about.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that's what fandom should be about.
Who cares what your pronouns are? I don't think anyone cares in 300 years what pronouns you use.
Well, the only people who care about pronouns are the people who I still think it's a power thing. I think it's about, you need to say what I want you to say. It's silly. I mean, listen, who would not? If I knew you and you wanted me to call you she or he and you're not a she or he, I would absolutely do that.
Yeah, I don't care.
Because I respect you and I want you to be called by whatever it is you want to be called by.
Yeah, whatever you want. You want to be called a helicopter? Whatever you want. I don't care.
I'm just saying. I mean,
I'm gonna have to remember.
Belittle it by saying helicopter. Okay. I mean,
well,
I'm
it's not my fault. They have crazy pronouns. Z, Zem, Fo, Fim. Like,
right.
I can't.
But what I'm trying to say is, if I know you,
but if I remember it, and you want me to call you that, that's fine.
Well, and I'm going to show you that kind of respect because that's what human beings should do to each other.
Sure.
But when you get to the point where it's like, you expect. It goes always one step further. It's not about that. It's about
it never ends there, bro.
It continues, right? So that's never good.
Next thing you know, there's a person that looks like a linebacker in a GameStop screaming in a lower voice than mine. It's ma'am, because he expected the guy across the desk she expected the guy across the desk to know that her pronouns were her. She, her, when she doesn't look like a she, her, and the poor guy is trying to be polite, but instead he's being assaulted by this person. That's where it usually ends. Like, look, I'll respect people that want to use certain pronouns, but you can't expect me to know them automatically. And those people that say, well, why don't you look them up before you address someone? Do you look anyone up before you address them? Do you know anyone that looks up their social media, their Instagram or their Twitter before they talk to them?
Well, they assume that every person is doing it intentionally, is like because they don't want to. The reality is that as human beings, the ultimate goal is always to plant your flag at the top of the hill. And that's the other part of our humanity. As soon as, it doesn't matter what group you are, whether you're part of a feminism group or whether you're part of the LGBTQ community or you're part of the far right and KKK or whatever all these different groups are, they all want to plant their flag at the top of the hill. And ultimately, so that's why there's no agreement or let's work together, or let's compromise. There's never any compromise because the ultimate goal is not compromise. The ultimate goal is conquest.
Right.
And that's part of the issue with today is there's nobody to say, stop. You can't do that.
Like every single Flash video we made, when I kept referring to Flash as he or him, every single video, there was the comments. It's they, it's they, it's they. I understand that.
Why?
How?
Why? Yeah. No. Why does anyone else care what you call the Flash?
Right. And how would the average layman even know? So you're going to criticize someone, but how would they know that this person who looks like a man?
Yeah, no, that's a problem. And so politely, that person should be like, thank you so much. I actually go by they or them. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to really struggle with that. Just to give you a heads up, buddy. But it's really hard for me with the they them thing. But okay, I'll give it my best. I mean, why can't there be that exchange of dialogue?
Right. And why would the comment section expect you to know that automatically instead of just leading with you're a bigot because you don't know? How would I know? How would I know?
Well, you know the answer to that. It's the same answer it's always been. I'm safely here behind my computer. You cannot see me. You do not know me. I can say whatever I want to say to you, and I will crush you with my words because sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, bullshit. That's changed. Words now hurt. And guess what? People then go out and hurt other people. I was just telling somebody in Discord, this is a real story. Okay. My kid's high school or grade school principal, 7th all the way through 8th grade, they have a new class coming up this year because they've noticed that the children are extraordinarily mean out on. Listen, I mean, like mean. They are just saying things that are socially inappropriate to other children. Okay?
That you know what that is, right? That's the pushback, bro.
It's TikTok. No, it's TikTok.
Well, no, but there's also I believe that the farther when you go, usually the following generation it's their natural place to rebel against that and go the other way.
No, I don't. Well, but I don't think that's what's happening here. So
Okay.
I think what's happening is all these kids are being, have access to social media and the nastiness of social media, and they don't understand that that's not. They're losing their social graces, their social norms. They don't understand how to act socially because they see this and think this is how you socially are supposed to act. So now teachers are going to have a class to say, "Oh, guys, by the way, you can't say these things."
Or bring in Bullybot 3000 and let him run the playground for a week.
Well, right. That's true. That's true. But the problem, that's true.
Hello. Oh, you would like to talk, do you?
Right. That'll shut people up pretty quick, man. That's kids will be like, "Holy cow, you can't say these things."
Bullybot. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Well, I know you joke about.
Do you have any lunch money?
Give me your lunch money.
Give me your lunch money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, all anyone needs.
Come on, kids. Let's play Smear the Queer.
Wow. Yeah. Here's the thing: is like what kids really need is somebody to tell them like this is not appropriate. The problem is that kids are so young. They're on all these devices and they have access to this stuff. They're hearing it. Now, it used to be parents would say, when a kid would say something, you'd be like, "No, you can't say that." Now, that's what happens in my house. But there are some parents apparently just not teaching their kids and they go to school saying whatever they want. And maybe because other kids are saying it. But this is literally our society changing. If you look at it, this is something that's happening. A school is going to have classes to teach social norms, how to speak to people socially, because these kids are all on social media, seeing all of the trolling and thinking that that's how you communicate with people. They're trolling each other and not beating each other up, Brian. They're trolling each other and saying, "Your mom's a slut." And he's like, "Ha ha ha, your mom's a slut too." And then they all laugh and run off.
Yeah.
No, they don't get mad at each other.
Yeah.
They just think it's hilarious.
That's why we need Bullybot 3000. Solve all these problems in one shot, bro. Bring bullies back. # bring bullies back.
That will get you demonetized.
Yeah.
Might even get your thing completely taken down.
Yeah, might even get canceled. Hey, so before we go to the member section, I do want to visit our Discord. I want to make this a little tradition. If you are a Discord member and throughout the show you were chatting in there and sharing memes and whatnot, I would like to just go check them out real quick before we go to the member section. So, in our Discord, the first thing is breaking. Lizzo found divorced dancers to watch season 3 and 4 of Star Trek Discovery on repeat.
That's fantastic.
If you guys don't know this, but Lizzo's in a lot of hot water right now because she's a horrible person. Who could have predicted that?
You thought we were going to say because she's fat. No, it ain't.
No, who could have predicted that? Oh, by the way, I did 2 months ago when I was like, I don't like Lizzo, and my dislike of Lizzo has nothing to do with her weight and everything to do with the fact that she's a horrible person. And you can go back and watch our show 2 months ago before this news broke. She was a horrible person then. She's a horrible person now. This is hilarious.
Just goes to show size does not matter.
It doesn't matter if you're skinny or fat. You can still be a horrible person.
Absolutely.
Here we go. Star Trek Legacy fans, when the stories reflect humanity having gotten past our current troubles, written by published science fiction authors who take pains to adhere to an established story points from previous episodes, blending action and fun seamlessly in a philosophical and ethical manner. Star Trek fans who love seeing themselves represented to reflect their trauma from being marginalized in society and having a platform for validation to make up for years of personal injustices.
Oh my God.
Full
that is
of
so hits
win.
on it. That so hits on it, man. That is so right.
Here we go. Tell me you don't understand what Star Trek is about without telling me you don't understand what Star Trek is about.
Jesus. That dancing down the freaking hallways. I understand that the thing made him sing, but did it make him dance too? Okay. Did it make Uhura excited that they were going to have a giant finale? Okay, I'm sorry.
Funny how this bridge didn't need updating.
Yeah.
Funny how this bridge didn't need updating.
Mm.
Discriminating Star Trek fan, current Star Trek. Good Star Trek. I love how he has Vulcan ears. You see this?
Mm. Good job updating that meme. Nice.
That was great. That's great. Ladies of Star Trek. Is there actually whoever made this, it might be a bigot because there's at least 2 transgender people in here that don't identify as ladies.
They don't?
Nope. Scotty, how badly have we been hurt? Taylor Swift just wrote a song about us.
That's great.
Only 2 women on the bridge?
You guys know, like in Discovery and in Strange New Worlds, there's way more women than men on the bridges.
It's like a 90% ratio.
Yeah.
Meaning when someone says that Star Trek is our exact future and exists in our exact timeline. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Kurtzman's Khan finally shows up in Strange New Worlds.
Oh my god. That's hilarious. Oh my god.
Great. Thank you.
There's just, you know what's awesome about that one? There's nothing to say.
Nothing to say.
Like, it just says it all. It says it all.
That's it.
That is great.
Donald
There's
Trump.
a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, Donald Trump. He looks like it's Stacey Abrams from Star Trek Discovery. If you ain't
Ricky
first, you're-
Barbie. Drive that car, girl. Drive it.
Okay. All right. That's it. That's Tales from Discord.
That's cool. Yeah, definitely check it out. www.discord.io/podcast.
Why are you
right?
saying the www part?
I don't know, dude, because I'm old.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
always-
You don't need it. Just discord.io/popcast. Links
But if
also in
you
the
put in
description.
www, it works. Right?
That's true. It will probably work.
Okay, so it
But
works.
no,
So why are you giving me a hard
no,
time?
because it also might not work because
Oh,
www is a subdomain. Just go to
Oh.
discord.io/popcast. It says
There you
that's
go.
not hard.
And finally, the last thing is make sure if you guys be on the lookout for our Barbie video. It's titled Barbie, a Dangerous Movie. It's coming out on our main Popcast channel this weekend, I believe, right, Brian?
Yeah, this weekend.
This weekend. So please be on the lookout for that. I think you guys are going to love it, and we'd love to hear what you think about it. So thanks for supporting us.
I'm replacing the pin. So I replaced the pin message with the Discord message. That's Discord. Next week, come on in there. Come in there now. But next week, if you post memes, then at the very end of the show, we'll talk about the memes. Right? We'll rate them. We'll do a little meme review. All right, that's it. We're going to the member section. If you don't know how to get there, it's pretty simple. Click on the link in the description below. Or just wait at the very end of this stream. Right when it ends, it's going to be like you're being redirected here, and that's going to take you to the member section. And you can sign up to be a member and support our crazy little pirate ship of insanity. And it's a fun time. So come on over. And that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Regardless of whether or not you come to the member section or not, we love you. We appreciate you guys watching. Once again, if you like current Star Trek, then, sorry for making fun of it for the last 3 hours. We respect your opinion. But
even if we don't like it, we still like you.
We still like you. That's correct. Regardless of how anything shakes out, we still like you. You are worth it. You are respected, and we appreciate you spending your time with us here on a random Thursday.
Hashtag for WWW people.
No,
hashtag
don't use www. It's a sub. Okay, I'm not gonna do this.
Justice for WWW.
I'm not gonna do this. This is a stupid thing. I love you guys. We'll see you in the member section. Come on over. If not, then we'll see you next week. Remember, you're awesome.